validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa, I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
Oh, look at that. I'm over here trying to get up TikTok set up. How y'all doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to, oh my God, look at that. Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. I thought that was going to stay laid down, man. We ain't got no gel on it. I got the trunk today. Okay, so either way, I was getting us right for tonight's show. I don't know how it's going to work because, you know, we're still trying to get this sound thing under control. Recognize, guys, that we are live 7 nights a week. We do not let the sun rise without going live, but we don't always start on time. So we ask you guys to like, subscribe, mash those reaction buttons, and then we ask you guys to take the opportunity to hit the notification button so that you're notified of upcoming shows. Like Monday's show is up there right now, so you'll be able to get the notifications for that tomorrow if you hit the notification button on it today. Also, check the membership. We've got new things rolling out on a regular basis. I actually put the links up for you, Stephen, on the custom shoes. I didn't put the photos up there yet. I'm going to be putting the photos up there. Try to add it to that post, but if I can't add it to that post, I'll just do another post of the Oxford shoes and then add the link back to that one as well. but I got the screenshots on my phone, and then I got to put them onto the email and then bring them up, upload them onto a computer. It's a lot of stuff. So once I get that done for you, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about when I'm like, yeah, man, you can do all kinds of weird stuff with this. Just got to find the right outfit to match it. Now, here tonight, Sunday night, we're going to be doing some questions and comments from the fans. So you guys are going to have all the information that you want to know. You're going to ask me about yourselves, and then I'll be able to help you guys kind of get through the stuff that you guys got going on. So before we get started with that, you know, I tell you guys that we go live 7 nights a week. We do not let the sun rise without going live, but we don't always start on time. So I want to make sure that you guys understand that. We typically start around 11:30, 11:45 Eastern Standard Time. So we're right around the ballpark of when we do kick things off. In addition to that, we cover a lot of topics. Usually, like I said, Sundays are questions and comments, but Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, tomorrow being Monday, we have politics and how politics negatively impacts your ability to make, save, and invest money. Then we talk about Tuesday, different ways to make, save, and invest money. And then Wednesday, we discuss different ways for us to go to different countries around the world that could potentially make money and potentially improve our standard of living at the same time. Steven says, so I have been hearing the term blue chip stock. What does that mean? Now, blue chip stocks are going to be the stocks that's been around for 25 plus years, that has been potentially growing consecutively for growth stock or paying dividends consistently as a dividend paying stock, because cash stocks are dividend paying stocks that pays dividends on a regular basis. But a blue chip stock is a company that has been around for an extended period of time and has weathered the storm of recessions and other such economic downturns, and still managed to grow through the downturn, or at least not be as impacted as other companies through the downturn, and maintain its success in its position in the economy, and be able to grow and pay its shareholders, maintain the value of its stocks. So you have certain companies that's been around for a long time, but they're not really blue chip companies. They're ones that make money, but they don't make enough money. They might be in the red a lot of the times. They might not pay dividends consistently. They might have dipped like Wendy stock and then bounce back off of the transition phase. But those would be non-blue chip stocks. But the companies that are consistently growing, they're consistently growing their dividend returns. They're consistently benefiting their shareholders. Those are ones that are like 25 years plus. And that's what blue chip stocks are. And all of the stocks that I grab for you guys and put into the membership are all blue chip stocks. Even the REITs that have taken a downturn well, they've taken a downturn in price, but they're still operating at 22.9% return on investment, even right now. So it is still a fantastic thing for you to get yourself into if you're trying to double down on some of that stuff. Now, after Wednesday, we typically talk on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday about different ways to improve yourself. So self-improvement, self-development, relationship topics, socialization, negotiation, building your brand, raises, promotions. We give you guys information about termination, retirement, forced retirement, severance packages, and then we talk to you guys about your 20 and 30-year plans. So we want you guys to understand that figuring out where you want to go and then mapping out how you're going to get there, that's some of the things that I want to make sure that you guys like etch in. So I give you guys a lot of information half of the week about how to build your business, build yourself up in your business, make money for you. Then the other half of the week, we start talking to you guys about how to change the way you make decisions so that the money that you made stays there, so that you're not spending every dollar that you get in, because that's how you're able to improve yourselves. When we talk about the K scale, me and Steven, we've been talking about the K scale on the show. Half of the K scale is when you are the type of individual that can produce a growth in your life by doubling down on your principal, by reinvesting in yourself, your stocks, your bonds, real estate, other unorthodox investment opportunities. Your capital, your income continues to increase, because the dividends that you get back, the return on investments that you get back, the raises and promotions that you get back, puts a larger and larger increase in the quantity of money that comes in, even though you're spending less money, which puts a larger gap between your debt and your income, having you at the top end of the K scale. Now, the bottom end of the K scale are individuals that live their lives paycheck to paycheck, continuously spending money. Then they have a financial catastrophe. They got to borrow against a stone. Now they're living a life of payday loans and cash advances. Special shout out to OG Kicks. And they find themselves in a scenario where they're continuously spending even more money with it on interest, late fees, and everything like that, penalties and stuff. And they're spending more and more money. Even though they're making money, their lifestyle is standing still, but they're in a plethora of compounding debt. That's the bottom half of the K scale. So we want to make sure that we're on the top half of the K scale. So I have to point out to you guys how your money is being utilized incorrectly. I have to talk to you guys about how your decisions between what you need versus what you could benefit from versus what you want are different levels of when you should spend money. Because if you have a certain quantity of capital, you don't have to buy everything that you believe that you need, and you don't have to buy everything that you believe that you want, as long as you at some point map it out where I can do without that for a few weeks, or I can do without that for a couple months. You want to make sure that you move that back so that it's still inside of your budget, right? Steven says one topic that relates to the ability to make, save, and invest money that is starting to interest me is the history of investing in stock market, like how it got started. That's a long history because the stock market has been around for a very long time. I want to say as much as hundreds of years here in America. Out of the 250 years that we've been around, the majority of that, we have had a level of stock market. I mean, we had Wall Street back during segregation, where the minorities had their own individual trading platform that they utilized, but that was because everything was segregated. But we had a lot more minority millionaires back in the day when minorities worked together for success instead of working against each other for success. So your ability to do research and learn the history of things is very important, because if you know where things came from and why it exists the way it exists, it helps you understand why the system is not deliberately designed against you. It may not be created for you because you weren't here when that happened. I understand that my ancestors were property when the rules and laws came out in this country, but it's the fact that the way things are now, you have the ability to learn what it is and how to navigate through it, because you don't control the rules of the game. You have to understand the rules of the game in order to play the game. And if you're playing to win, you're playing long-term satisfaction, not short-term gratification. In a chess game, you can sacrifice every good piece to get every small pawn and find yourself halfway through the game with no good pieces left. But over the long term, if the goal is to checkmate the other king, you may sacrifice a lot of the pieces on your side of the board to make sure that you checkmate that king. The ends justify the means if, in fact, you won the entire game. But the intermediary skirmishes mean nothing to you if you made 30 good plays, but you still lost the game. At the end of the day, you lost. So when we're living life for us is decades, right? So life for us, we have to recognize that our future 30 years from now is going to be harder than our present. And our present might be just as hard as it was 10 or 15 years ago, just in a different way. But we have to recognize that right now, in order for us to make our future easier, we have to start not just dwelling on the past. We have to start focusing on what we're going to do in the present to make sure that the future is not as hard as the present. That's something that we don't always take into account. So I do believe that it is a fantastic idea to do history and take a look at where the stock market came from, how to get a company into NASDAQ and the S&P 500, how to build a company from the ground up, how to make, save, and invest money in ways where your money is making more money for you so that you don't have to work, but also how to expand and automate that scenario. Because every good idea that I can give you guys is an idea that starts with you doing all the work. However, your ability to automate the situation requires you to generate enough revenue so that you can take what you are doing, make enough money to pay someone else to do the work for you so that you can focus on bringing in a larger quantity of customers. You can personally only do so much work, but if you can do the work of 5 people, then that means that you can hire 4 people to do the work for you. And then you can step away from doing the operation and start working on setting up their contracts, start working on marketing to bring in more people. You can do other things, redirect your attention to other things. Yes, of course, out of the total quantity of profit that the business might make, you might find yourself in a situation where you're making less money than what you would have made if you did everything by yourself, but the workload is significantly less. And the average millionaire and billionaire doesn't actually do any of the work. More often than not, they negotiate the deal. And then after they negotiate the deal, they pay other people to facilitate fulfilling the deal. But they get a piece of the pie. So if all of my effort went into convincing somebody to sign here, and then after that, it is what it is, we're still in a position where the we're still in a position where we're not. I just sitting over here looking at that, man. He was here yesterday, and I was like, man, I said anybody come in here inappropriate, go get blocked out the gate. As soon as I see Cat Williams come across the screen, I was like, block. I was supposed to block that word, but I forgot because I was setting up today's show. But as soon as he came in with that, I was like, block. I ain't even trying to do it today. I had patience yesterday, but not today. So today what we're going to be doing, we're going to go through a few things. We're going to listen to a few things. We got some folks that are going to be, this is one of those, another one of those murder she wrote as world turns kind of situations. And we're going to be sitting here listening to what the people has in store for us. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to probably play it on a side note. So let me move this over here. I got to play it on a side note for TikTok so that TikTok can know what we're dealing with. And then I will be able to kind of give you guys the insight as to what do I think about what's going on. Now, if you guys got any other questions that you guys want to ask me, just like Steven, that was asking positive, appropriate questions related to the show, by all means, throw your questions into the comment section, whether you're on TikTok or YouTube. It's always a good idea to throw in a good comment. FX Trader says, once they get all assets tokenized on the digital ledger, it will be the end of freedom for all investors. They will be able to control all the money, and unless you grow your own food, it's over. I disagree with that. I understand your observation, but I'm going to have to completely disagree with that. So tokenization is them having a digital title or deed for the physical object. The physical object still exists. The physical object can be sold instantaneously through 2 different parties or multiple parties across the world without having to be in the same place at the same time, but the physical item still has to be transferred. Now, there is scenarios where, like, take for example, if there were $1 billion of gold in Area 51, and let's say that, you know, Hillary Clinton sold like 3 bricks tokenized to like 300 people. each person would be entitled to 3 bricks, right? 9,000 bricks, right? Now, the value of the gold is the tokenized value of the token that they're buying, and they're buying a specific quantity of the gold that's in Area 51, right? Now, they can then resell the token to somebody else. Gold doesn't have to move because they're selling the ownership of the physical item, right? Gold doesn't have to move. But at some point, I paid for it, I want it, you still got to send it to me. You're not buying a digital item. When people think about tokenization, you're not buying a digital item. They're not scanning a physical item and then turning it into a digital image and putting it onto a computer and then selling it. They're actually selling real stuff, right? I think when people think about digital tokenization, they try to imagine like Atlas Earth, where people are buying real estate all over the world on this video game. You have to understand that Atlas Earth, you don't own the property that you just bought. You bought a digital version from a digital world that you can maintain currency on. It's a video game. It's basically like the kind of game that mines your data, and while it's mining your data and tracking your GPS location at the same time, it is providing you with a little bit of currency. That's not the same. Tokenization is a physical asset. That's what you got to remember. It's a physical asset that's being sold online through tokenization. So that's why I say I disagree with the observation that once everything is tokenized, that investors are not going to have any freedom. The reason why investors are always going to have freedom is because my money pays for your transaction. In order for tokenization to occur, or not to occur, but in order for tokenization to have value, you would have to have an item that needs to be sold to somebody else, which means you need to have somebody that's willing to buy it. And an investor is somebody that is buying something, not retail, that is buying something that has monetary value so that they can sell it for a profit. And that's going to be an investor, right? So with that logic, if tokenization was going to be this big multi-billion-dollar business, because it just came out not too long ago, and it doesn't have a lot of popularity, but it is almost like the cash register of digital transactions. It itself does not turn a profit, but the transactions used from it will turn profits for the people that are utilizing. So when the tokenization starts charging a fee, you can potentially get profits off of that. But as it stands right now, that's almost like saying that, you know, I can't even think of a metaphor that's related to that, because it's like if you were at Walmart and you're like, oh man, you know, cash registers are going to do away with, you know, customers' ability to buy groceries. No, its job is to facilitate the transfer of ownership from the store to the customer. That's its job. It doesn't get paid for that. It just collects the money. And then it gets forwarded to somebody else. The asset gets forwarded to someone else. So it's not a situation where the world will be over because somebody's going to be in control of all of the physical assets. Because you got to understand, we don't agree with nothing in our lifetime. And as a result, that puts us in a position where everybody's going to be fighting over everything, and no one collective of assets will be no one collective of assets will be on the full spectrum of one person's individual ownership. Because again, even with Elon Musk and Donald Trump being two of the richest men in the world, they don't own everything, right? Now, will everything that gets bought and sold be monitored over time? Of course. The more digital transactions that we have, the more we depend on our credit and debit cards, the more we put money in our bank accounts, the more we develop a paper trail with transactions. Yes, they can track our money. But the thing is, who is going to sit there and look at hundreds of thousands of transactions for millions of people? They're going to create an algorithm that's only going to look at the question marks where the money doesn't add up. A person is spending more money than they make. Where are they getting the money from? A person is making a bunch of money, not spending it. Where are they storing it? That's all they're going to be able to see is outliers, stuff that don't look right. Will there be no more paper money afterwards? I mean, I appreciate the likes. The concern that we have is we've been talking about digital currency. There's already a crypto coin for the U.S. dollar on the crypto market, and we already understand that maybe in about 50 years we may be dominantly digital currency, but I believe that there's still value for paper money because we still understand that while there is still government that exists, we have to recognize that currency is still the trade receipt between your goods and my goods. The barter system, as long as the barter system is alive, there is reasonable value in paper money because paper money transactions can occur in places where there's no internet. Take, for example, you're riding down the road, your car breaks down, and you manage to get at a tow to come, but you're in a dead zone, right? Your car's in a dead zone. You might have to walk 5 miles back so that you can get a signal to get a tow truck to come and get your car. But when they get there to come and get your car, they can't use your credit card at the site to hook up your car because there's no network. But you can hand them $50, $100, $150 at the site in order to tow the car. The barter system where you must trade my ability to come and collect your car for my ability to receive reasonable compensation, that trade must happen, but the trade cannot happen if there's no internet. So if you had cryptocurrency, but no satellite connection, you have no money. So will there be no paper money after tokenization? That's wrong. There's going to be paper money. Tokenization, they're not tokenizing everything in the world. It's just certain items that are being bought and sold across the world are being tokenized in limited capacity to the individuals that are interested in them. Just like NFTs. It's not a situation where it's like everything is being turned into a token. This isn't Super Mario where like we punch it and it's a coin now. That's not what's happening, right? So I mean, I appreciate you trying to get some clarification on that. Also, you made a comment that they're going to control all of the money. They're not going to control all of the money. The reason why they're not going to control all of the money is just like they're still mining Bitcoins, where they're still producing more Bitcoins. No one person owns 100% of Bitcoin. They're still printing paper money. No one person has possession of all of the money in the world because the barter system does not exist if one individual or one entity controls all of the capital that makes that market flourish. We got to give money back in order to have the money continue to circulate so that they can get more. And then even though your monetary value or your bank account value is a digital number online, there is still billions of dollars of paper money being printed on a regular basis, being shipped from one place to the next, where internet doesn't have a wire transfer for that particular type of transaction. Doesn't the digital currency give the government total power? No. Most digital markets are not monitored, but some are. Well, they're not governed. I can't say that they're not monitored. They're not governed. The United States government and a lot of other governments, if they don't like what you're doing, they can seize your assets. The same way Andrew Tate got his assets seized. Somebody reported him for something. They came and arrested him on an accusation. They went to his house with a search and seizure warrant, and they went and collected a bunch of stuff, hundreds of thousands of dollars of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars of assets on top of money. They came back and took a bunch of cars. Now, we on the outside looking in might say, oh, that's shenanigans because false report, the government came in, did X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. I'm mad. But think about the fact that a lot of us don't always fully disclose all of the assets that we've acquired from the United States government. And then when they look into our position, they're like, wait, where did all these cars come from? Where did all these watches come from? How did you get the money for all of this stuff? You made it seem like you were making the kind of money that a fast food worker makes, and you've got more Bugattis in your front yard than Elon Musk. Where did all this stuff come from? And they seize it. Also, you have the other scenario because Elon Musk, well, not Elon Musk, Andrew Tate was accused of committing a crime, and that crime included unethical behavior across borders, which means that any assets that you own that could have been purchased with crime money is assets that are part of the crime. So they seized all of his assets. In that situation, you're not just getting tax evasion or tax fraud or whatever. You are the subject of investigation for a crime where all of your assets are taken from you. Now, they don't need digital currency to have that happening. They were taking everybody's stuff in the 90s. Remember MC Hammer? We always talk about MC Hammer when we talk about somebody having a total failure or losing all of their shit. We always talk about MC Hammer. They went to his house and just walked away with all of his stuff, and digital currency had nothing to do with that. Digital currency, the government would be able to more easily monitor what you're doing, what you're buying, where you're buying it at, where you go, right? So if you start involving yourself in illegal transactions, they can determine that you're involved in illegal transactions because of who you gave the money to. Where you sent the money. A lot of times the GPS signal of when the transaction occurred. This is how they're able to determine that you ultimately were involved in a financial transaction that was not lawful. But what say, I done left the thing open. They got a whole bunch of these bad boys just coming out of nowhere, daddy long legs out the woodwork. I don't know what kind of summer we got going on right now. We didn't kick the back door open just because it's hot as balls out here, like 102 degrees. And because the back door sitting open, it's almost like chicken soup for the soul. Like 5 daddy long legs have been seen in my area. It's almost like 8-legged freaks. They just, every time I turn around, I'm like, what the hell? Y'all wasn't here 3 months ago. So y'all gonna hear me smacking a bunch of them budget. I don't know what kind of nest that they popped up. I'm waiting for the winter time. That way we can lock this thing down. Yes, you're right. No more privacy. But you have to recognize that we're giving up privacy on a grand scale, because that's what we were talking about a few weeks ago. All of the brand new cars are going to be monitoring your vitals, voice command, video recordings, and everything to that effect. So the data, that plus the flock cameras, everything that you say, everything you do, and everywhere you go is being monitored now. We in America find this very intrusive, but this is common behavior in like Asia, because they've got CCTV cameras everywhere. Most vehicles are equipped with 24/7 recording equipment that I don't know if they keep it in the cloud, SD cards that have like several terabytes of data. But if something goes down, they can get the video from either one of the vehicles in the area or any number of buildings in the area that would have recorded it from multiple different angles. They have more often than not just video recording, but I mean, we in America are doing like video and audio recording. There's no more privacy. So we're going to be in a huge drawback, because our privacy that we feel so entitled to, how you doing, bro Logic? Our privacy that we feel so entitled to is now being traded for the convenience of automation. And that's going to be part of the reason why digital currency is becoming so popular, because instead of me having to go to the bank and collect large quantities of cash and go somewhere and pass that large quantity of cash to somebody else, I can simply just get out of bed with my debit ATM card. And now these days, I don't even need my wallet. Now these days, I can actually take my cell phone and go somewhere and just tap with the cell phone and pay for anything. And so digital currency is going to be a big thing. But we're sacrificing our privacy for convenience. You say, it's been a while. How have you been? Everything is well? Yes, we've been doing good. God bless you as well. We've been doing good. Making everything make sense and debunking a lot of the myths. Now, today we were supposed to be discussing some. Feel free to keep bringing in questions. As we get started, we're going to go ahead and take a toll on what we got going on with this right here. And then we're going to see if you guys can hear it. And if not, then I'm going to have to provide it to the TikTok side of things. And I'm going to give you guys some rational thoughts and logics here. So let's go ahead and see what's going on.
My wife and I have been married for a year.
Oh, good.
We have 2 biological children together. And when I met her, she already had a daughter from a previous relationship. Everything was good when we lived separately. But once we moved in together, things started to feel different. One of the first issues involved a relationship between her and her oldest child's father. When I did the occasional lurking that I think most people in relationships have probably done at least once or twice, I realized some of their conversations had absolutely nothing to do with their child. Even before we got married, I caught her sending him money to buy a PS5. We talked about it, worked through it, and I chose to move forward. Then I found out she had not been completely honest with me about her mental health. She is bipolar, and that has brought its own challenges into the relationship. Still, I worked through that too because I believed in our marriage and wanted to support her. But the thing that has affected me the most is finding out that she was talking negatively about me to her family, saying that I do not support her enough mentally when it comes to the kids. Then I found out her mother had been saying that I only married her for a green card and that I do not do enough for my family. That bothered me deeply because she met me as an immigrant, but my immigration process was already being handled through my parents before our relationship. I came into this relationship with goals and ambition. I have a bachelor's degree, a good job, and I make more than twice what my wife makes. Recently, I started traveling more for work, which has allowed me to bring in roughly an additional $700 per week. I speak 2 languages, I am continuing to progress in my career, and I have only been in the United States since 2020. Throughout our relationship, I have tried to help her progress too. I have taught her things about money, encouraged her to think differently about her future, and try to help her become more successful in life. I genuinely wanted us to grow together. But somewhere along the way, while trying so hard to help build someone else up, I feel like I have declined financially and mentally. My parents have been married for 50 years, so I was raised believing that marriage is something you fight for. I believe in patience, forgiveness, working through problems, and not walking away the moment things become difficult. But there's also a point where sacrifice starts turning into resentment. After giving so much of my time, patience, energy, and understanding to someone, only to discover that they were speaking negatively about me behind my back while their family questioned my intentions and my contributions, something in me changed. Lately, I have found myself resenting my wife, and I hate that I feel that way. I still believe in marriage, but I'm starting to realize that believing in marriage does not mean ignoring disrespect, dishonesty, or constantly sacrificing yourself while becoming a worse version of who you were before the relationship. At this point, I genuinely do not know if our marriage is going to last.
All right, so I'm on the fence about her buying or helping her ex-boyfriend baby daddy buy a PlayStation because they got a kid, he's got the kids, and whether he's playing the PlayStation, whether he's playing the PlayStation with the kids, or whether the kids are playing the PlayStation, that's kind of a question mark. One of the hardest things that we have in our society is that so quite a few problems here. Problem number one we're going to deal with is that men do not like dealing with women with children because the child's father is still in the picture, and that is a whole nother family that we have to step aside to because the prioritizing a child requires us to allow the father to do what he needs to do for the child. But that also allows the father had feelings for our current girlfriend or what we want to be our current wife, had feelings for in the past and may want to continue rekindling those feelings. There's always going to be a bond between her and her ex. That's the first problem. No matter how you look at it, especially if they're divorced, they spent a long enough time together that they will be bonded for life. And it is a huge question mark on if her loyalties to her new boyfriend will supersede her loyalties to her old husband or her old baby daddy, right? And ultimately, women are going to call that insecurity, but it's a bad investment if I'm putting money into you and you're putting money into him. That's going to be wild. You look like a secret agent. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. It was down earlier, but the fan and wind blowing, and then now it's up here. Cowlick got the Gumby look. I'm sitting over here like I'm trying to get the Seth Rollins going on right now, measure down. So, but you know that's not how afros work, and it's not a Jerry curl, so I couldn't get the Prince look. It's like the Donald Trump comb over without the need for a comb over. But let's talk about the other issue that we have. The other issue that we have is prioritization, because her baby daddy is the father of her child. So just go bald. I can't. I've been growing hair for 40 years, bro. If I cut it, it's going to get worse. It's going to grow like weed. And it's not even like the good weed that you pluck and smoke. It's going to be like the bad weed that you try to throw Roundup on and get rid of, and it just doesn't go anywhere. And look, in my family legacy, I've got people that are 90 years old with a full head of hair. So there's no going bald in my generation. I'm going to have to maintenance this bad boy. I'm going to have to find me a nice Southern belle that can braid my scalp back. That way I can get everything looking a little bit sharper. But we working on that. We working. But what I was about to say was her loyalties to her kid, because that was her first family. That's going to be an issue that's going to negatively impact. He said bald is gold. Maybe, but I'm not willing to do bald. I'm not willing to do bald. I couldn't say the last time I had a low cut was like 15 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, long time ago. But yes, her loyalty to her family would be a conflict. Well, it's not a conflict for her to be loyal to her family. You want a family-oriented woman, but you also want her to be loyal to the family you're trying to create with her now, and that's going to be a double-edged sword. Now, you can incorporate a scenario where you receive the respect from the child, and she shows you the respect as a new man, and the old man shows you the respect as a leader of the household now. Then you might be able to have the type of dynamic where you guys can work things out. But if there's ever a scenario where she's taking as soon as we start talking about sides needing to be taken, it's not good with ex-wives. Now, recognize no matter how you look at it, when we have interracial relationships, somebody's going to be racist. Social classism and racism. While racism isn't all that big these days, social classism is big these days. I'm not saying that racism is completely gone. I'm just saying that societal behavior patterns don't actually dwell on the fact that you have a specific race or a specific legacy. It is more often than not the fact that your ass ain't got enough money to do whatever it is that we're trying to do. So, like this gentleman, he's coming in from a different country and his status is less than a native. And as a result, social classism, he is deemed as a lesser person trying to come up on the social ladder by marrying this woman. That is going to be an issue, because instead of the family respecting him for who he is and what he's doing for the woman, they are devaluing him, assuming that he's using her for her citizenship status, when his status was going to be made whether or not he married her or not. You know, so I've thought about that. If I was to try to get a woman and bring her over, if the observation would be that she would only be marrying me for her status. And, I would have to be the one that provides that appropriate reassurance that no, it's not about the status, because I'm the one that wanted you here, which is a completely different scenario. But his wife isn't providing him that reassurance because she's bad mouthing him behind his back. And I got a lot of negative to go on about this because we're about to touch on some stuff. Steven says, I know it is hard to find at our age group, but if a woman has a kid, I'm out when it comes to a serious relationship. Bro, I'm out too. It is, you're not going to find out, you're not going to find, you're 36, I'm 40, 41. We're not going to find a woman in our age group that is not conflictual and without child. And the reason being is because she is not a single woman at 35, 40 years old and with no children by choice. She is single at 35, 40 years old and with no children because she raised enough hell in every relationship that she was in that she didn't have enough time to get pregnant. And then the only other added choice that she had in there is that she was a pro-abortion woman when abortion was around, and every opportunity she had to give birth, she destroyed them. So in those situations, if you find a woman that's 35 or 40 years old that is never married, single, and no kids, there's a plethora of red flags there. Because what did she do wrong in her decision making for her to meet that criteria? Because we also have to understand that in Western culture, you're not going to find a 25-year-old virgin. So 10 years of activity and no kids, what did you do wrong? Right? But yes, if I'm finding, and that's going to be the thing. If we're looking for a woman that's going to be mentally stable, we're looking for a woman that's going to be cooperative, and more often than not with no kids or at least one kid where the dad disappeared into the moonlight kind of situation. We're looking at 20 to 25, 28 at the oldest. Right? And women are not going to like that. They're, oh, you're robbing a cradle, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but she's cooperative. She's willing to work with the narrative so that we can accomplish goals together, not dictating terms where the entire agenda changes because she says so. Women want to receive the wealth from the man in the relationship. Her entitlement is because she contributed her time. At the end of the day, her effort should be to aid him in making more money so that he can spend more money on her. As long as that is not in her mentality, where she is just going to go with the flow and just ride the carpet ride without having to contribute to it, you got to do what you're told. You can't dictate terms and not do what you're told and then still receive all of the benefits of the estate. Ultimately, you're in a roommate situation where she's going to pay her way, you're going to pay your way, you guys are going to live together and have a situationship because there's no values in that situation. So yeah, I'd be dipping out on that. Michael says mankind is the only creatures that is not in harmony with nature. It is possible that we are the aliens. No, I'm not going to say that we're the aliens. I'm not going to say that we're the aliens, because if we were the aliens, then we would have in our history the technology to leave, to leave and stay gone. Not one enterprise still exists. I think that there's like this Google map thing that claims that there's supposed to be like a crashed enterprise somewhere in the middle of Africa somewhere. I don't know how true that is, but not one enterprise that we know of right now that we can get on and disappear, and 250 something thousand people can get on this ship and just disappear and boldly go where no one else is able to go. Steven says, of a family is against me, I'm out. Oh yeah, if the family is against me, as soon as your mom and them start talking shit, I'm gone. Because unless you're gonna turn your back on your entire family for me, which is completely unorthodox and unpromoted. At the end of the day, a family-oriented relationship requires the legacy family to be included. So if your mom and daddy and them don't like me because I'm black, then at the end of the day, you and I aren't going to get very far, because how are we going to have family reunions when your family don't like my good tan? That it don't work out that way. So, if your family don't like me because I'm American, it ain't gonna work out. Luckily for us, when we go to other countries, he's an American is a status symbol, a positive status symbol. They have low respect for us because they believe that we're trifling and ignorant. We are, but they have high respect for us because they believe we got a lot of fucking money, and we do. So at least they will look at me and think, well, he carries himself with more respect than the average American heard about, and he must have money. So let's see what he can do. I'm okay with that plethora. But when they come back with, bad mouthing the boyfriend or the husband, and the girlfriend's not standing up for him, she's leading the parade of degradation. At the end of the day, like, she's got to go. She's got to go. FX Trader said mentally stable is definitely the most important. Yeah, notice the dude jumped in and he's like, oh yeah, and I was just about to touch on that. He said, you're invited to the barbecue. Notice the dude touched on it. He's like, oh yeah, I found out halfway through the marriage that she was bipolar. No, she's not bipolar. Okay, here's the issue. Women have mood swings. You call that being bipolar. What it is you are a master temper tantrum person. You have mastered the ability to have an emotional breakdown in a public place to embarrass the both of us. And as soon as you get what you want, you're able to tighten back up. That's gaslighting. That's not bipolar behavior. He said, it's that time of the month. No, it's that time to hit him in the mouth. That's what time it is, to slap him up. Shut up. It's time to Chris Brown it. Because you got to think about this. Okay. Y'all, I be down in coffee like there's nothing in the world. So when a woman wants something, first she's going to show you what it is and mention how nice it would be if she has it. Next level of expectation, once you guys start being around one another long enough, she just start telling you what to get her. Then after y'all start spending a lot of time around one another and you always get her what she says get, then she starts demanding that you get stuff. The moment you say no, her entitlement is challenged. Because you have given without the responsibility to earn or reciprocate, the entitlement is the issue, not the girl, the entitlement. Now, a lot of the times the man created that because I'll give you the world on a silver platter, just stay with me is the dynamic. Just stay. You don't got to do shit. Just stay and I'll give you everything, right? That's what a lot of men do. So it's mostly the man's fault. But the problem is that you build the type of relationship with a woman that's going to sit on a throne, make demands, and you must have so many offerings as quick as possible. And if you don't bring it fast enough, she's going to flip out on you. That's not bipolar behavior. If you don't have it, or if you don't think she needs it, and you say no, then she's going to flip out on you. That's not bipolar behavior. That's gaslighting followed by temper tantrum. And a lot of the times they will have that temper tantrum until you give them what they want. So now we're in a situation where she's not going to talk to you. She's dodging your kisses. She's pushing you away when you try to give her a hug. She's yelling at you in public. She's insulting you in front of her friends and family because she's not getting her way. That's not bipolar behavior. It's very disrespectful. If a man wants what he wants, and he tells or asks his girl to get him something, and she shames him for wanting that. I want a PlayStation so that I can get the GTA 6 that's going to air in November. Oh, you're a man. You don't need to be playing with video games. Video games is for kids. It's what I grew up on. It's my pastime. That's my hobby. That's all I got going on outside of working and doing whatever you ask me to do. All I'm asking you is to let me get this for myself so that you can have everything else that you want in life. And she's gonna rebuttal with how immature and irresponsible and blah 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 blah. And then stop asking for stuff. Then the man starts going to different places. Like, I'm gonna go hang out with my homeboy and play the game over there by his house. We're still gonna get it. Both men and women as adults, when we want something bad enough, we're still gonna get it. We're just gonna get it away from the relationship. So now we're somewhere else lying about where we are, because if she finds out, she's gonna flip out, and now we have a problem. The fact of the matter is that the girl's not bipolar, but you knew what you were getting into before you married her, because once you move in, their true colors start showing because they can't put on a facade for very long. Once you move in, you can see what their behavior patterns are. You either like them or you don't. By the time you get to the engagement where you proposed marriage, their overbearing, dominating, and oppressive behavior is already seen, right? On a regular basis. By the time you get to the wedding day, we call it Bridezilla, but her true colors of domination comes out as Bridezilla, not a cooperative person, but a dictator, right? That's what we're marrying. And then after the I do, that's when we're in a situation where we have to deal with the results of our decision. Now, the first few days, the first few weeks, she might be enthusiastic because she went to the wedding. You spent a bunch of money because husbands spend all the money on the wedding, not the father of the bride, not the mother of the bride, not the family, the kinfolk, not the neighborhood, the husband. So if the husband spends $20, $30, $40, $50,000 on his wedding, then the wife might appreciate that for the first few weeks of the marriage. About 30 days in, 90 days in, we're used to being around one another. First time she doesn't get what she wants, that bad attitude comes back, which is the same bad attitude that was there before you married. That's not bipolar behavior. That's just the way this person is. You don't like it, but that's the way this person is. You chose this person, recognizing that they got a bad behavior. It's just like if a woman was dating a man and he hits her when he's mad. She marries him. He ain't gonna stop hitting her. He married her. He's gonna hit her more often, probably. She's gonna say, "Oh, well, he's changed. Now he's abusive." No, baby, he was abusive when you met him. You just ignored it. You married him anyway. So you got to pay attention to what you're getting yourself into. Steven says, "There's a reason to spoil a woman, and she is a woman of worth. All day, what she wants, she gets, not for no reason." Well, see, that's the thing. A woman is going to get what she wants if she earns it. If she ain't, how you doing, Mr. High? Okay, that works for me. I appreciate the likes, Mr. High. But if a woman wants something and she's earning it, because first and foremost, because a lot of the times we have this debate where not a lot of women jump on the show and actually want to defend this discussion, but we have this debate where women have to earn their entitlements, and women do not want to accept what men expect a woman to do to earn those entitlements. But if we just tiptoe back to the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, where women used to balance the man's checkbook, pay all the bills from the man's money, buy clothes, shoes, cook, clean, everything like that for the kids, buy clothes and cook and clean and do things for the husband. The reason why single men were less attractive than married men and men in relationships was because the women dressed the men. When men were in relationships, they looked better because the woman put more effort into making her man look better. So the man looked more worth getting because that was the product of his girlfriend or his wife. That wife material would get married, and then he would be a husband of a woman that has kept him looking sharp, kept him successful, kept his money together, kept his household together, set up all the appointments, had the repair people come through while he was at work, because back in the day before technology, the bills had to be paid between 9 and 5 or 8 and 4. And if I'm working 8 to 4 or 9 to 5. I'm at work the whole time that the bill is supposed to be paid. Who the fuck's going to keep the lights on? The wife. If I work a graveyard shift from 9 at night to 7 in the morning and I got to go to sleep so that I can get up to work. If I'm asleep while the bills got paid, who's taking care of the bills? The wife with my money. The stuff that women used to do back in the day that made them valuable, women now find that oppressive. Now the man has to manage the money for everybody. The man has to organize everything for everybody. The man has to set up the appointments and get the repair guys there, be there for the repair guys while being at work. So a lot of times he'll have to take days off from work, PTO time, so he can be at the house for the repair guy, babysitters, nannies, housekeepers, and all of this stuff that he's got to do. But what's happening? The men are replacing all of the things that make a woman valuable, which leaves the modern 2026 woman with the mentality that all she has to do is look pretty and sleep with the guy and then go in the kitchen and make him a sandwich. But her value doesn't stop at the kitchen. Her value is so many different areas, inside the house, outside of the house, off the property. Her value is in so many different areas that they don't want to do. And that's going to be the reason why a lot of women are going to argue against the traditional values that men look for, because when we're looking for a partner, we're looking for a helper, we're looking for what you would define as a 24/7 personal assistant to make sure that all of the stuff that I don't have time to do, you got that for me. And that is a trade-off, because every man dedicates himself and vows to taking at least half of your responsibilities, if not all of your responsibilities, off of your plate. So I went from managing my life to managing our life. And I have went from handling my problems to handling my problems and your problems. And all I ask you to do is to take over some of the problems that I don't have time to take over. So I did all the hard stuff. The easy stuff is going undone because I don't have enough time for it. You have all the time in the world because you no longer have any hard problems to deal with, and you don't want to step up and do the easy problems. This is the part that has men and women at odds when we have these relationship debates, because the modern women are not presenting themselves as worthy. Because when a woman doesn't have an answer to the question, what do you bring to the table? They come up with this bullshit ass response, I am the table. But maybe if the table is broken, who gonna play cards on it? We don't deal with broke tables. You understand? So if you're not bringing value to the table, why are you sitting at the table? You want to say that you are the table, but I don't want to sit at a table that's not valuable to me. You can't hold nothing up for me, right? And that's the biggest issue. So then we start grabbing passports and flying to other countries and getting Eastern women because they have the values that American women don't have anymore, because it's not taught by the last generation or the generation before that. And now we're in a situation where we look for the women of value, but we find a woman that we're content with, that we can have a consistent sex relationship with, and hope that she doesn't spend all of our money. But those are the type of relationships that usually end in divorce, because we're not getting a woman that actually helps us grow. We're getting a woman that doesn't cause additional chaos. She doesn't bring us peace, but she doesn't make it worse. And as a result, she's not what we need. She's just what we're willing to tolerate. And that also partly contributes to the affairs that happen, because what we really wanted was a woman to build with, and what we got was a woman to sleep with. So then when we find a woman to build with, what do? Cheat on the woman that we sleep with the woman that we can build with. Our women don't agree with that, but I know that I say this on a regular basis. If you turn your mentality into a business level mentality, the resources are expected to come from the man. Even if the woman's got her own money, the resources are expected to come from the man. So if the man is the business, right? Women don't like saying that the man is the prize. If the man is the business, right? And the woman is receiving benefits from the business, what work are you putting into the business to get the benefits? What work are you putting into the business to get the benefits? And I ask women on a regular basis, and I wait for that answer to come out. And if there's ladies listening on the chat right now on either Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, or whatever, if how do we put the question here? Because the value that we have in you is based on what you're capable of doing for us. I'm trying to find an appropriate way to word this question. If the roles were reversed, what would you expect me to do as a man to earn your money? And then let's flip the roles back and say, why are you not doing that for me? Straight up. Since women want to be equality, what would you expect a man to do to live off of your income? Since women replace men by becoming the man that they want to see. And some of the most masculine alpha boss lady women have achieved the male status, and they believe that they are valuable to society because they are what other women look for in a man, but they're not what men look for in a woman. But they want men to accept her for who she is, not what he wants, right? She wants him to abandon all of his values and accept her as is, but he must meet all of her expectations. The double standard is crazy. But the fact is, what would you expect a man to do to live off of your income? And then why are you not doing that for the man since you're living off of his income? We got one spot here. Okay, so he says, I think we are diverting from the primary scope of today's show. So let's see. The title of today's show on YouTube is The Wildest Love and Finance Dilemmas in Real Time. I'm going to be answering certain comments and questions related to love and finance and the complications that occurs in that. And right now I'm actually having a in-depth discussion about the behavior patterns of women and how it complicates the relationships, because the women want what they want, but they're not willing to perform to get it, which will take us back to the main discussion that we were having with the first man that commented about how his wife not only does not perform, but complains about him. He wants out of his marriage because he's not satisfied with what he sees. She's devaluing him to her family, but he chose that woman, and that's the way she was before he met her, and he ignored it. And now that he's married to her, he's not satisfied with it. She is not providing value to him. And that was the other question that I was going to ask. Ladies, how many men have you made a better man where when you left, he had more than what he had before he met you? Because most women would answer that question with no, either he stayed the same or he fell off. And that's part of the reason why she left, is because he's less of a man than what he was when she met him. But very few women, if anybody, actually puts effort into the man to make the man better, where his income increased, his housing scenario increased, he's got better opportunities, he's got better transportation work. He went from not having an education to having an education. Like, very few things that most of the time the women find him as is, or find him in the transition phase, and then just walk away from a situation. And when they walk away, they usually take a bunch of shit. So he has less when she leaves than what he does when she shows. So when you say that we're straying away from the topic, I think that you are misunderstanding the whole concept for my show. And then the host of the show can't stray away from the host's topic because it's whatever I want to talk about. Okay, so here we got another question or a statement here. It says, how do I provide an attention of finances against the world, especially compared to relationships? That's a weird question. You want to know how you can provide an attention? How can you pay attention to finance? That might make a little bit more sense. How can you pay attention to finance? in the current with the way things are right now, especially when we're trying to compare it to relationships. What I say is that when it comes down to, first and foremost, men are inconsiderate, women are selfish. Women see the problem and don't care as long as they don't benefit from it. Men focus so much on getting stuff done that they don't pay attention to some of the things that they need to be paying attention to, which leaves the relationships undone, which ultimately is part of the reason why the woman would leave and the man not know why, because he wasn't paying attention to why, because all he was doing was focusing on his performance, not the results of his performance. Okay, so as a man, it would make more sense to you to, or make more sense for you to pay attention to the results of your efforts, not just to pay attention to putting in the effort. Because a lot of the times, and this was what I was about to get on with this female, a lot of the times women will do things that they expect the man to appreciate, even if it is not what the man wants. Like, for example, I had a family member that I was like, hey, we were renovating this house. I said, look, I want you to take up the carpet, right? Now, he didn't take up the carpet, he washed the wall. He washed all the walls. And then he came back and he wanted me to be proud of him for washing the walls. I didn't actually wash the wall. I actually picked up the carpet. The carpet's still here, but you did a big job of washing all these walls by hand, but the carpet's not taken up. I'm disappointed in your effort, even though you put in a lot of effort to do this other thing that I didn't ask you to do, because what I asked you to do, you didn't do, right? Now you're going to be upset, frustrated, complaining because I'm not appreciating your effort. Well, if you didn't do what I asked you to do, if you didn't do what I told you to do, how am I supposed to be reciprocal of praise when what I wanted done is still not done, right? So in a relationship, women need to listen to their men, but men do need to listen to their women to the magnitude that I have to know what you want so that I can get it for you. And then once I bring you what you want, I have to evaluate your satisfaction of my delivery. The same way when we order something online and they ask us for a review. How was the delivery? How was customer service? How was the engagement with the delivery person? They do a survey to find out after we bought the product, how did we like the engagement between their company, the delivery company, and us receiving the product? And then how much do we like the product, right? We have to perform that exact same way in our relationships. Go to the wife and find out if she's satisfied with what we're doing, how we're doing, and everything to that effect. But women need to put more effort into going to men and finding out from their boyfriends and their husbands, are the men satisfied with what she's doing and how she's doing it? And if they're not, what does she need to do that she's not doing so that he can be satisfied? Because for women that are in relationships for 5 and 10 years and they're not getting married, where they're disappointed that the man is not proposing, you're not proposing because you have yet to become what he wanted, and he's waiting for you to improve, and you have not improved yet. But you didn't know that you needed improvement. You have yet to go and ask, what is it that I'm not doing, that I'm not getting that ultimately promotion from the girlfriend to the wife? Well, until you perform, you won't get it. Gentleman says, I understood, sir. I may have misunderstood the scope. Yeah, hey, I completely understand that, because on TikTok, the name of the title of the show is not up there. But if you go and check us out on YouTube side of things clearly has, I'm going to be answering some of the wildest love and finance dilemmas in real time. So that's going to be the scope of what we're talking about today. So we will be talking about a little bit of finance topics and questions, and a little bit of relationship topics and questions throughout today's show. So everybody that's watching us on YouTube knows exactly where we're supposed to be at today. He said, what do you look for when hiring a pair of sunglasses? Well, you don't hire a pair of sunglasses, you buy a pair of sunglasses. And when you're buying a pair of sunglasses, the first thing that they have to do is fit your face. And everybody's face is different. It's really supposed to just cover your eyes. And if it's covering your eyes, it's supposed to cover you. If you've got small eyes, they don't need to be that big. But if you've got big eyes, they don't need to be that small. You don't need to get the square ones that I got. You can get the oval ones, but it's not something that's required to cover your eyebrows and cover your cheeks, when it's really just supposed to be going over your eyes so that you can see. So the goal is to find one that fits, that kind of matches your style, but also matches your visibility. But that would be the kind of question that's completely off kilter, because that's not about finance. That's not about relationships. That's about glasses. You said, I believe he said, attention. Oh, attention. Oh, I thought it was attention, because I'm sitting over here looking at. I thought that he said attention, because I'm sitting over here looking at the words in the thing. I'm trying to read the comments here. I thought it was a typo. Um, you're trying to obtain finance against inside of a world that is very difficult compared to trying to obtain a positive relationship. It's going to be difficult for you to find the type of relationship that you're looking for if you're looking for the wrong things, because we discuss on a regular basis, with 8 billion people on the planet and almost 50% of them are women. There's actually more women than men on the planet more often than not, because of war. The men go to war, the women do not as often as much. Because I know that as soon as I say that, somebody's going to jump up and say, I know women that enlist in the army, right? But the military, most militaries around the world are dominated by men, and most deaths in military skirmishes are going to be men dying off. As a result, there's going to be a larger population of women than men in every country around the world. You're also going to find that what you want, now that we have fintech, and now that we have social media, and now we have global connections with one another, what we want may not be in the city that we're in. And back in the day, before technology, you had to choose from the people within your reach. So if all the girls in your neighborhood were ugly, you had to find the most attractive girl in your neighborhood, which is not the most attractive girl in the world, just the most attractive girl in your neighborhood. And you might not be able to get the most attractive girl in your neighborhood, because your social status, your income level was going to be based off of your ability to obtain employment. So if you're in a neighborhood where finding work is hard, you may not find you an 8 or a 9. You might find you a 5 or a 6 that's willing to tolerate your income. Now with social media, now you can make money in Finland from America and date a woman from Bangladesh. Now you can be a man in Saudi Arabia with a wife in Chicago that has a job in Pakistan. So now you have to really decide, what do you want in a partner? And then you have to recognize, how far do you have to go to get that partner? Not how much effort I have to put into convincing the person down the street to be my partner. How far do I have to travel to get that partner? And then, is that partner really willing to relocate, or am I willing to relocate to get to that partner, so that I can have the relationship that I'm looking for? Because the women in your neighborhood might not be what you want. You might have to go to another state. The women in your country might not be what you want. You might have to go to another country. When it comes down to employment, it's going to be the same thing. The way we used to do things 50 years ago, me and Michael talk about this on a regular basis, the things that we used to do 40 years ago, we can't do it that easily nowadays. So we have to change the way we address finance, because we have ways to get finance digitally, investing in stocks, bonds, real estate, and everything to that effect, Bitcoin and everything to that effect. We have startup businesses that we can do online, where we can sell a service over the internet and provide a service to people on the other side of the world without having to leave our couch, versus showing up to work down the street in a brick and mortar building where we're getting paid for our time. So how do we navigate these two scenarios? First, we have to determine, as far as our job, what our work-life balance is going to be. Then we have to decide, what are we doing for work? Because if we are willing to do it for free and we can find a way to get paid to do it, that'll be the best job for us. But if we're going to find a job that is inside of our skill set, that will pay us enough money for cover our standard of living, then that's the next thing that we're looking for a job. The goal is not always to work for somebody else, because with technology automating itself, we're going to find ourselves in a position where a lot of jobs that used to be the best jobs to get, because they were manual labor jobs, are now being replaced by machines because manual labor jobs are in jeopardy. So before we get replaced by a machine, before the company downsizes and bring in a bunch of iRobots to take over my position, we have to make ourselves self-sustainable where we are getting paid to be at home, right? Then with our work-life balance put together, we need to pay attention to what we're looking for in a partner, which means that we need the kind of partner that is going to aid us in our ability to be successful. If my wife was going to be here aiding me in my ability to be successful, she'd be doing a back office work for my podcast so that I wouldn't have to do it, right? That would bring better quality to the podcast, bring in more viewers, that would bring in more people into the membership because she would be embedding herself into the success of my podcast. What would happen is that the profits from the podcast, she would benefit from. If women change their mentality from I want a man that's already made to I want to invest in a man that will reimburse me on my efforts after he's made, you will find better quality men because you're going after potential now, not the finished product. The finished product doesn't have to have potential. The finished product could just be at the finish line. He could have earned it or it could have been given to him. His value in it is going to be based on the effort it took for him to get there. But for you, his value in you is going to be based on how much you put into him. And if you just got here, how much does he value you? That's the thing that you guys got to think about. He said, what do I say to my younger brother if he keeps going 120 miles in his Tesla? How do I tell him to stop? Okay, so if your younger brother is driving a Tesla, you don't really got to tell him too much of nothing because eventually they're going to start emailing him tickets because they're clocking his speed and they're flock cameras and all of this other stuff. They're starting to integrate law enforcement into the automated system in your vehicle. You're going to start seeing over time. It's not going to be instantaneous. It's not going to be this month. You're going to start seeing eventually the digital software where they're issuing you tickets because you're clearly seen going over the limit and the car is ratting you out. The car is telling the manufacturer that you're abusing the car. The car could be notifying law enforcement that the car is endangering society. And ultimately, if you have a report that shows that you're fucking up, they take the report and bring it to court and you're done, bro. You're done. If the car can show from its little black box that you were doing 120 miles an hour in a 25 mile an hour school zone, bro, and the police got the evidence, they can get you later. They don't have to get you while you're doing it. So how do you convince your friend not to do 120 miles an hour? I mean, if he's watched all 5 episodes of Final Destination, there's really no reason to convince him. He's going to keep doing it until he dies. He's going to keep doing it until he gets a $1,000 ticket, his license suspended, they crush his Tesla. That's what's going to happen. You want to show him the video of the 150 people in California whose cars got seized, and then they had to go to court to collect their car. When they went to court, each person got massive fines, got their license suspended, never got their car back, and all the cars got crushed. Let a $55, $75, $125,000 Tesla get crushed because he was driving too fast. He's not going to do that again. But can you talk to him about it? No. What you can do is you can take a life insurance policy out on him, and then when he crashes that bitch and dies like Paul Walker, you get a bunch of money off of it. Oh, okay. Yeah, he told me about that. Why are you saying that you can get better women with more money? You are not accounting like looks. Okay, so let's talk about this. A woman values financial stability. Even in modern times, men have the fundamental responsibility to protect and provide, right? And since men have the responsibility to protect and provide, even though women can do their own kung fu, and even though women can handle a Glock switch just as good as a man, if not better, the fact is that my only responsibilities here is to make sure that you're safe and make sure that you have the resources that you need to survive. Preferably, what women would prefer to have is to not just survive, but to thrive, right? So whatever her standard of living was before she met him, it is supposed to elevate. She's supposed to have more access to network, means that she's supposed to have more contacts. She's supposed to have more prestige. She's supposed to have a better standard of living, which includes a better house, better cars, better clothes, better food, better access to newer environments. So the man's responsibility is to provide that. A man is not going to be able to provide that if he doesn't have enough resources. Now, his resources, his ability to accumulate resources is going to be based on his ability to attain money. The more money he obtains, the more resources he obtains. The more resources he obtains, the more resources he has to provide to the woman. Men don't become millionaires because we want to be millionaires. Men want to be millionaires so that we can get a better woman. A woman that is not going to talk to you if you're not $1 million man is supposed to be the kind of woman that will do all the things that you need to become a $10 million man. But if you're a $50,000 a year man, you are going to be able to obtain a $20,000 or $25,000 woman that would have an elevated lifestyle if she gets with you, because she was once under either Section 8 or living off of her parents' income, and now she is with you living in a middle-class lifestyle. Her lifestyle elevates. In order for you to get a different quality of woman, because I can't say it's going to be better quality, because you can find a woman in the ghetto with better mentality than a woman in the suburbs. It just really requires you to find a woman for her mental fortitude, not her physical appearance. It's not about how good she looks. It's about how well she performs in this relationship, right? But the majority of men actually go after women for their body, not for their mind. And that's one of the reasons why women argue that they're smart and that they have a good career, but your money and your intelligence is not why he's here. It's your beauty and your cooperation that is why you're here. And when you stop cooperating, he might be able to accept your beauty and lack of cooperation, but when he stops getting access to the beauty, you have no value in a relationship anymore. Now it is just collateral damage to the magnitude that I've invested so much into this person, and I don't get what I want out of this person, but it will cost me more money to get rid of this person than it would be to keep the person. It's like buying a car, it broke, it don't run the way it's supposed to, but you're not going to trade it in because you still got to pay the debt. So you can get a better quality person with a larger income. If we and when you start talking about let's account for looks, you say, well, you got to account for looks. Whether I look good or not, Flavor Flav was a multimillionaire, and he was on a Flavor of Love and had all of these women that were trying to aim after him, and he was one of the ugliest men I've ever seen in my life. And the fact is that he had all of those women after him because of his money, not because of his looks. But you also have men that are highly attractive that don't need an income that can attract a plethora of women as well. The value of a man is not how good he looks. Now, a woman will sleep with a man because he looks good, but a woman is not going to have a 25 or 30-year relationship with a man that looks good. A man's value is based on how much he provides. We've talked about this on the show plenty of times. A woman that's the primary breadwinner, she makes all the money, she's paying all the bills. The guy stay at home, he doesn't have an income, or he has a very small income. He's basically her dependent. Every single time, if I didn't do it, Steven did it, jump in, dude's a bum. Why? Because he does not provide for her and he cannot protect her. He is a liability to her, not an asset, because his role in her life is to bring her more, not take more from her, right? So as a result, since society would dictate that a man is not valuable if he does not provide, getting more to provide makes you more valuable of a man, which allows for you to find a more valuable woman. As long as you're not just chasing a sex part. He says, how much should one be spending on a respectable barber with a good plumber? These are some sideways questions. I'm tolerating them, but these are some sideways questions. So first of all, you're not buying a plumber and a barber at the same time. Okay, you're first of all so if you're looking for a respectable barber, the average barbers right now are closer to $80 to $100 a visit. You can find some barbers that do a really good job in lower income areas for $25 to $50, but it really depends on what they're doing. If they're just edging up your hair, they might charge less. But if they're doing your entire head, shaving your beard and goatee, keeping you looking sharp, the more effort they put into your face as well as your head, the more money they should charge you. So it really depends on what your look is and how much you're willing to pay in certain areas where I might spend $100 for somebody to braid my hair, and someplace I could probably get it done for 30. It just really depends. Now, the quality of the braids is going to depend on the quality of the value of the capital. So if they only charge me 20 or 30 bucks to do the hair, and it doesn't look as good as I would expect it to look, I got what I paid for. But if it looks more than professional, looks like something that a celebrity would wear, and I'm being told to give up 85 bucks for it, they done washed it, dried it, moisturized it, conditioned it, did a hair treatment on it, all of this other stuff, blowout, all of this other stuff, then braided it up. I sat there for 45 minutes to an hour just to get my hair done one time. They earned that, right? Because all the stuff I'm not doing to my hair at the house, they did to my hair before they braided my hair up to keep my hair growing. So, they earn that. So it really depends on what you're trying to get out of the situation. You got to pay for convenience, and you also get what you pay for. So you have to put a monetary value. You have to set the bar. So you can do research, and you can find out what the average price range is to get a haircut. You can even do research for the type of haircut that you want and get an estimate as to like the highs and lows of what someone might charge for that particular type of hairstyle. Then you can go to certain places and you can negotiate that. Once you lock that in, that can become your permanent barber. It says, do you believe teenagers should drive Tesla or not? Now, notice we were supposed to be talking about love and finance, and you have thrown in haircuts, glasses, and now you're talking about kids driving cars. This is when look, I can barely see your name here. This is when Ravania Ring said, hey, you're straying off the topic. This is what straying off the topic looks like. When they're asking left field questions that hold no bearing to what we were talking about, because we were talking about relationship topics and finance topics. And you're talking about buying glasses, you're talking about getting a haircut, you're talking about driving a car. These are not questions that are in line with the topic of the day, right? But to answer your question about teenagers driving Teslas, I don't care who drives a Tesla. When it comes down to irresponsible kids being behind the wheel of a motor vehicle, I don't think that they should be. I also believe that the way they're making it mandatory for people to have 360 something hours worth of drive time, I believe that they should make that, they have that on motorcycles. I believe they should have that standard for the kids. But think about this though, again, they just reinforced the laws. So all of the new cars that are coming out in 2027 are going to be monitoring the performance of the people in the vehicles. And these kids that's out here wilding out in these vehicles are likely going to shut down on them. And when that happens, they're going to be wondering why their car doesn't work anymore, because they are not treating those cars the way those cars are supposed to be treated. The other thing you're going to experience is these kids that are doing burnouts and racing the car at high speeds and everything to that effect. They're showing data where when you bring the car to the shop, certain things that would have normally been covered under warranty is not going to be covered under warranty because you have not been properly operating the vehicle, drag racing it up and down the street. It's not designed to be used as a track car. So if it's being used as a track car, it can violate the warranty. Then when repairs are needed, the dealership can deny you the repair cost because you abused the vehicle. So your friend is driving a Tesla at 120 miles an hour could easily void his warranty. And now you've got to pay the $4,000 for the tires. You've got to pay the $10,000 for the battery. You've got to pay the $20,000 for this and that. And then you're going to be like, damn, now you got to sell your car because you can't afford the repairs. That's the other thing. He says, I'm sorry, I thought I could ask this since we were talking on this. I'm super sorry. No, we were talking on relationships and finance. So the questions that you were asking me were not finance or relationship. Because asking about buying glasses is a passive aggressive way to troll the show, because you're asking a money question about something that's completely irrelevant. You know, the same way you're asking about driving, you're asking about a driving status, which has absolutely nothing to do with relationships at all. You know, and you know, when you started with the wild questions because you're trying to pin a finance structured question or a relationship structure question out of a ridiculous formatting in hopes of getting a reaction. And a lot of people do this because they come and they want attention, and they want negative attention. And since I'm not willing to entertain individuals that come here completely left field with inappropriate messages that get blocked right away, you're trying to linger with your attention by providing the questions that I told you would be more accepted, but you're still taking the conversation completely off kilter, which is not what we were discussing, right? He says, stay on topic, do stop ruining the show. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get back to the other comment that we had going on here, because there's a lot of stuff that we talk about here. And if you're following us every day of the week, you're going to see, like tomorrow, we're going to be talking about some of the new laws that are about to get passed about housing that are different from laws that we were talking before. So which could benefit you, especially if you live in California. And then we have a lot of different ways we're going to be talking about making money, make money for us. So if you're really trying to learn things, you're really trying to get things from a different concept or a different perspective. If you don't have anything positive to say, just linger on the show like the other thousands of people that are watching and see what's being said. But if you have a positive interjection, by all means, interject it. You know, that would make sense. Now, let's go ahead and touch base with the other one, since we got it working for everybody to hear.
My wife and I have been married for a year. We have 2 biological children together, and when I met her, she already had a daughter from a previous relationship. Everything was good when we lived separately, but once we moved in together, things started to feel different. One of the first issues involved the relationship between her and her oldest child's father. When I did the occasional lurking that
So you're telling me that you don't see all of the people on YouTube and Twitch that are watching the show right now. That's what you're telling me. So what you're failing to see is that this is a live podcast across multiple platforms, and we just integrated or trying to integrate TikTok over the last week and a half. So what you're not seeing is the extra people on the other side of things that are not able to communicate with you directly because you are from TikTok, and everyone else that's on YouTube and Twitch are not directly able to communicate with you. And that's why I'm trying to get the stream key so that I can help you guys be involved in the collective conversation, if that makes sense. Okay, this seems like an appropriate comment. Wisdom, as per marriage and divorce, considers we have a no love, but only money with women relationships with marriage contracts. Love only exists with children because we can't disquan legal child. Well, we can't disqualify a legal child. Incorrect topic. I'm gonna have to ask you to clarify that one, because you said marriage and divorce considers we have a no love but only money with women in relationships with marriage contracts. No, I tell people that it's a good idea to get a marriage contract. Well, I tell people that it's actually a good idea to get a girlfriend contract when you're in the dating phase before you guys move in together, which would be the fundamental basis of what a prenuptial agreement would look like down the line if you guys were to get married. I told you guys to upgrade that dating contract into a fiance style contract that puts a legal requirement to fulfill the efforts of getting married, where if you renege on the fulfillment of the marriage, then you would be liable for the financial effort that went into the wedding. So leaving me on the altar, you got to reimburse me for setting up the wedding scenario. It's a contract for performance. If I spend this money, you will show up and perform, right? Likewise, with the marriage, you have the prenuptial agreement. The prenuptial agreement is a division of assets. There are a lot of clauses in there where a lot of women are self-conscious that they want to have the infidelity clauses and stuff to that effect. The marriage is not based on love anymore. Believe it or not, marriage is fundamentally based on the consolidation of assets. We can say that it's based off of love, but no, the duty and dedication that we have to another person that can turn into either contentment or resentment is not love. We decide to stay with this person, not because we love them, but because we have put up enough effort and sometimes enough money for this person that we don't want what we've invested in this person to disappear. So we attach ourselves to that person. But we have a financial investment as men, and that financial investment is not reciprocated the way we would like for it to be reciprocated. And then when the divorce happens because performance, the woman didn't get what she wanted. 90%, 80, 70% of uneducated women, 90% of educated women, on average, about 80% of women in total walk out of their relationships because they're not satisfied with the relationship itself. Not because the husband was cheating, not because the husband is a bad guy, just because whatever she thought she was supposed to get out of this relationship did not happen. Now, the other 20% of men that walk out of a relationship typically walk out of the relationship because when they get the divorce, it's because she cheated on them, the ultimate infidelity, or the lack of respect. Sometimes a man can deal with the lack of respect as long as the infidelity isn't there. But if the infidelity is there and the lack of respect, that's like a triple hitter. Like, the game is over, right? The love does not exist between the two adults. The love in a relationship might exist towards the children, as you're trying to explain, but we cannot depend solely on how we feel about the kids. And it is a bad idea for any two people to agree that we are going to allow ourselves to exist in a toxic environment for the sake of the kids, because if we don't get along as adults, we're not going to be getting along in front of the child. And the child will assume that our lack of respect for one another is how we're supposed to be treated by other people. And that will compel our child to go and find a toxic relationship as an adult, because that's what they grew up with. Mom disrespecting dad, dad disrespecting mom. So let me go find somebody to disrespect me so that I can call myself being in love, because that's what I'm familiar with. That's not what we're supposed to be teaching our children. If we can't get along with one another, we should live in separate houses so that we can spend enough time apart, so that when we come together, we show each other respect, so our child can see what respect looks like. Mom should respect dad, dad should respect mom, especially in front of the kid. And no one should talk bad about the other person to the child when the other parent isn't there. You know, but no, that was kind of in line with what the woman was about to talk about when you jumped in. So you're doing okay, Wisdom. Wisdom is one of the people that's been long standing on our show as well. He knows how to stay on topic as well. But yeah, you're actually still on topic with the person that was just about to communicate, because this gentleman was complaining about his wife not doing what she's supposed to do. So let's go ahead and continue with this person's statement so we can kind of get a full understanding of what's going on here.
I think most people in relationships have probably done at least once or twice. I realized some of their conversations had absolutely nothing to do with their child. Even before we got married, I caught her sending him money to buy a PS5. We talked about it, worked through it, and I chose to move forward. Then I found out she had not been completely honest with me about her mental health. She is bipolar, and that has brought its own challenges into the relationship. Still, I
Sounds like
worked through
that's too
that too
far.
because I believed in our marriage and wanted to support her. But the thing that has affected me the most is finding out that she was talking negatively about me to her family, saying that I do not support her enough mentally when it comes to the kids. Then I found out her mother had been saying that I only married her for a green card and that I do not do
Let's
enough
just
for my
play through.
family.
Go through to the
That
next.
bothered me deeply because she met me as an immigrant, but my immigration process was already being handled through my parents before our relationship. I came into this relationship with goals and ambition. I have a bachelor's degree, a good job, and I make more than twice what my wife makes. Recently, I started
I didn't talk
traveling
about
more
this.
for work, which has
Do
allowed
call
me
in.
to bring in roughly an additional $700 per week. I speak 2 languages. I am continuing to progress in my career, and I have only been in the United States since 2020. Throughout our relationship, I have tried to help her progress too. I have taught her things about money, encouraged her to think differently about her future, and tried to help her become more successful in life. I genuinely wanted us to grow together. But somewhere along the way, while trying so hard to help build someone else up, I feel like I have declined financially and mentally.
Of
My
course.
parents have been married for 50 years, so I was raised believing that marriage is something you fight for. I believe in patience, forgiveness, working through problems, and not walking away the moment things become difficult. But there is also a point where sacrifice starts turning into resentment. After giving so much of my time, patience, energy, and understanding to someone, only to discover that they were speaking negatively about me behind my back while their family questioned my intentions and my
I don't want to
contributions,
know that I'm
something
listening.
in me changed. Lately, I have found myself resenting my wife, and I hate that I feel that way. I still believe in marriage, but I am starting to realize that believing in marriage does not mean ignoring disrespect, dishonesty,
Right.
or constantly sacrificing yourself while becoming a worse version of who you were before the relationship. At this point, I genuinely do not know if our marriage is going to last.
Before I go into the next one, I want to touch on one thing real quick that I just heard. Uh, Fighting for your marriage. You are supposed to partner with your husband or wife to fight the world for your marriage. Fighting for your marriage is going against the grain, debating against your family members, debating against your boss to make sure that your partner gets what he or she is supposed to have. That is fighting for your marriage. Back during segregation, if you had an integrated marriage, you were supposed to argue with your neighbors about how your wife belongs in this neighborhood because that's your wife, fighting for your marriage. You were not supposed to have to fight your partner for your marriage with your partner. That is a misconception that a lot of us think that the tough times of the relationship, when your partner's being disrespectful, when your partner's being disobedient, when your partner's being complicated, that we're supposed to fight our partner to get our partner to cooperate. That's equivalent to the statements that women think when they say, "Oh, you don't want to get with this because you can't handle this. You can't tame me. This is You're not a wild, savage beast. No man is supposed to tame you. At the end of the day, you're supposed to come content from the beginning. You're supposed to come containable from the beginning. You're supposed to come cooperative from the beginning. Because if I have to dominate you to the magnitude where I have to force you to submit, that's oppression. Why would you even declare that I am supposed to do that to you in order for you to be the partner that I need? You were supposed to voluntarily recognize that I am valuable enough for you to say that I'm going to do what he says, because what he says will put more money in my pocket. What he says will put more resources at my disposal. What he says will get me through to the network that I currently don't have access to. So I'm going to listen to what he says because it benefits me to listen to him, which is why I tell women on a regular basis not to look at his wallet, look at his decision-making skills. He could be broke with fantastic decision-making skills, and you can partner with him and make him a millionaire. He can be rich with terrible decision-making skills, and he can Charlie Sheen you into a very, very bad lifestyle. At the end of the day, it is about his decision-making skills, right? So when we have this misconception in life that we have to fight for our relationship, I agree that you have to put in effort, but it shouldn't be a fight. If it is a fight, the relationship was over a long time ago. If I have to fight my partner to be successful, the relationship is already over. because ultimately fighting my partner in 2026 is equivalent to the master whipping the slave in order for the slave to pick the cotton on the field. Because if they weren't going to pick the cotton voluntarily, and I got to beat them to pick the cotton so that they can get the profits off of picking the cotton, at the end of the day, it's oppression. So why in 2026 are women demanding that a man conquer her and force her to cooperate with him, and then complain about the lack of equality in the relationship when she's trying to put herself in a relationship where he must bully her to cooperate? She should not have to be tamed. She should voluntarily show up and be the woman that a man needs, not just show up as the woman that she became from all of the trauma that she had. She has to learn how to adapt and change too. There's no reason why she's going to expect him to be damn near the perfect man for her, and that he has to accept all of her flaws. If she's not willing to accept his bad credit and his criminal record and 5 children that he's got child support for, she should not expect him to accept her C-section and bankruptcy and 3 baby daddies is not paying child support. If you're not going to be the pinnacle of perfection, you can't expect perfection. The more flaws you have, the more flaws you're supposed to be accepting. You can't call yourself a 10, which tells me you're not willing to change yourself, and then tell me that I need improvement. If you're not willing to change and you're not what I need, it's not about what I want. You're not what I need, because a lot of people go after their type. Your type is not always what you need. Your type is what you're attracted to. But if you had a childhood of trauma, you had a childhood of chaos, you might be attracted to chaos. Your type might be chaos. You think about all of the last relationships that you've been in. How did they end? Did they all end in chaos? Were they chaotic until they ended? If the answer to both or one of those questions is yes, you're attracted to chaos. Your type is chaos. You at 35 and 40 years old want peace. In order for you to find peace, what are you going to have to do? Look for something that is not your type, which goes back to what Wisdom said. You're not going to be getting into a relationship because you love that person. You're going to learn to love that person because that person is what you need. That person is not bringing you chaos. That person is bringing you peace. You're not attracted to that person because that's not the toxicity that you used to, but you're going to stay with that person because that's the stability that you want to have in your older years. So you're not always going to get with a person because you love them. You're not always going to get with the person because you're attracted to them. You're going to get with this person because this person benefits your objectives, right? Not benefits from your objectives, benefits your objectives, aids your objectives to be more successful. That's going to be the dynamic. It's easier for a man to be what a woman wants her to be, or what a woman wants him to be, because at the end of the day, when she dictate terms, this is the lifestyle that she's hoping to live, and he has to see how much money he has to provide her. It is difficult for women to change from the feminist model that they're taught, that they observe, to become the cooperative woman that used to exist when women didn't have to try as hard, when chivalry was not expected, when generosity was a universal norm. Yes, I understand this was during a time when women were more treated like property than they were treated like people. But I also understand that the benefits that women got in that timeline are the same benefits that women expect now in 2026. But the effort that the women were putting in the timeline when that benefit was an entitlement is not being provided now in 2026, but they still want the entitlement. If you used to work on your full-time job, coming into work early, staying late, double overtime, clocking out so that you don't run into too much overtime, working for free, putting all this effort into the job, and the job values you, right? You get all of these perks, preferred parking, make your own schedule, come in whenever you feel like. Then you stop performing. When you show up, you don't do your job. They got to put extra people on the schedule because you're here. They're losing money because you're here. They're failing. They're not meeting their goals. They're not hitting their budget marks because you're here. The job is going to fire you. You are not going to work on a job off of the fundamental history that I used to be an asset to you 5, 10 years ago. Right now, I'm a burden to you. I am a liability to you because I'm not benefiting you, but I'm costing you money. And women have to understand that as long as you want a dude to take over the majority of your responsibilities, you must be willing to follow his instructions. As long as you do not want to follow a man's instructions, you do not belong in a relationship, because a man is going to need, a good man, a quality man is going to need a woman that is not want, need a woman that is going to follow his instructions so that she knows what is not getting done so that she can get that done while he's doing all of the hard stuff. That doesn't mean that she doesn't have the mentality and skill set to do hard stuff too. What that means is that while he's knocking certain things out, she is supposed to be knocking other things out. And that requires her to be able to cooperate. Just like on a football team. And we use these sports metaphors. On a football team, you have an offensive team and a defensive team. The wife might be the defensive the defensive captain. Whenever we need to back the situation up or follow your lead. The husband might be the offensive captain. Whenever it's time to march on to something, you're going to follow my lead. When it is time for the husband to lead, the wife must obey, because otherwise the play isn't going to go right. When it is time for the wife to lead, the husband always obeys. That is the part that I have a problem with. Not that a husband is willing to obey his wife. It is the fact that the wife is not willing to obey her husband. And you can see it, like we've seen some skits on TikTok. Matter of fact, you guys on TikTok, y'all have seen this on y'all highlight reel, where the dude was bending over in the dryer, taking out the laundry. The wife told the guy to hand her a shirt out of the dryer, and no questions asked, he handed her the shirt. He immediately, in the exact same scenario, told her to fold the towel right next to the dryer, and she started making excuses. She started whining about it. She started trying to justify it. The fact is that you have a man that will do what you say when you say do it, right? Now, since that is the catalyst of the discussion, why is that man having a problem with you doing whatever the fuck he tells you to do? That is called reciprocation. If he is going to, at the drop of a hat, knock out the majority of the reasonable requests that you ask of him, then you should, at the drop of a hat, do whatever the fuck he asks you to do within reason. You should not have to justify it. You should not have to make excuses. You should not try to worm your way out of it. You should not talk back to him about it. You shouldn't have a why, a sigh, a slump, or nothing like that. No hemming and hawing or nothing like that. If you can tell your husband, hand me that shirt out the dryer, don't even got to give him a please. Hand me that shirt out the dryer. That. Hand you the shirt out the dryer. That exact same response, soon as he says, go make me a sandwich, right back. And go get the sandwich and bring it back to him. Reciprocation. But if you're not willing to reciprocate, you don't belong in a relationship. Right? Because one of the first things that a woman wants is to be treated like a queen. You want the princess treatment. The princess treatment is being capable of sitting on the throne and having your peasants worship you with no reciprocation. It's societal flaw because we taught our girls this type of behavior from childhood. We put our little girls on a pedestal because those are our little girls. We teach them how to not have to try anything because we want the more a child has been spoiled, the worse off they are as an adult, male or female. But the problem is that the egotistical behavior makes it harder for the two people to come together. Because how are you going to want to find a man of value when what a man of value needs is a valuable woman to back his lead? Not take over his empire, back his lead. If I say let's go left, you're going to make sure that we get through whatever's on the left. I know I pointed to the right when I said that, but I'm just saying. Let's go to the next comment here.
My wife is just fundamentally unhappy, and I am completely spent. It finally clicked for me yesterday. My wife's flip phone had screen issues. I figured moving her to a slab phone was a better practical choice. Calculated that an OD was better than EMI. Took her to the store, paid $76K, and bought it for her. The whole time, she was visibly sad. I asked her why, and she responded, "Why should there be excitement? I don't have a flip anymore anyways." That was the moment everything came to a conclusion for me. She is just an unhappy person, and no amount of effort from me is going to change it. To understand how we got here, you have to look at our past. I switched cities to get a well-paying job, so we could afford our car loan, personal loans, and the lifestyle we wanted. To this day, she blows up at me, claiming she doesn't have work because I forced this move and ruined her career. The reality? I checked with her 20 to 30 times before applying, after getting the offer, and before moving. She refused to give a clear answer. When my previous company gave me an ultimatum of 30 minutes to accept a measly 5% increment to stay, she was actually mad at me for leaving. Once we moved, I told her I would hire a cook and a maid so she could focus 100% on getting a new job. I prepared her resumes, searched for roles, and asked her to post on LinkedIn. Nada. Zero interest. I asked what she actually wanted to do and told her it was completely fine if she just wanted to be a stay-at-home wife. She ignored my millions of attempts to help her. She doesn't want a solution. She just wants to complain that I hurt her career. This resentment bleeds into our daily life. Post-marriage, at least once a month, we have massive fights over the most trivial stuff. For example, where to put clothes. I put a used towel in the soiled clothes bin, and she blew up because she doesn't want a wet towel in there. But as I pointed out, the whole purpose of that basket is to put soiled clothes in one designated place, not scattered in 100 different places. It turns into a war. It's constant, don't touch this. Don't touch that. There are stringent house rules, as if I am living in a jail. On top of walking on eggshells, there is zero physical intimacy. She has vaginismus, making ours a sexless marriage. I pay for her medical treatments, her therapy, and I have tried to be endlessly patient with her condition. But navigating that, alongside a demanding job and a partner who treats me like an enemy, has left me drained. The only thing I wanted in this marriage was a partner with a good attitude. Instead, I am trapped with a complaining, annoying person who finds the misery in everything. And no, this isn't PMS. It is exactly like this all year round. I think I'm finally done.
Okay, so I just want to point out a couple failures that you have, brother. So she had a specific type of phone. It broke, and you didn't replace it with the same kind of phone. That was your first mistake. That would be like, I know I'm a big Samsung person. I've been Samsung since like 2005 or whatever, probably before that. And some of y'all that are younger than that are like, damn. Yes. Back when we had flip phones, back when Nokia was still around as a dominant phone source. When Nextel still had the chirp phone before Boost Mobile came out, way back in the day. Now, I understand that I'm a big Samsung man, but if I was dating a woman that had an iPhone, even though I strongly believe that Samsung is better quality phone than an iPhone, if my girlfriend's phone broke, I would get her another iPhone. I wouldn't get her a Samsung just because I have one. That's not replacing her phone. That's substituting it with something else. Even though I just had a nice long rant about, women not doing what men need to be valuable to the men. Fellas, y'all got to do what y'all need to do to be valuable to the women, because what this man is telling me is that men are inconsiderate, women are selfish. Now, he is inconsiderate about the fact that the phone that she had broke and he didn't get her the one that she wanted. The lifestyle that she wanted to live in, the city and state that she wanted to live in, he didn't want to stay there. He moved, she followed, but she didn't want to move. She did not want to say no because that would have ended the relationship, but she didn't want to say yes because she didn't want to go, so she didn't answer. She went because he wanted to go. The other issue is now she is forced to be a stay-at-home wife because she cannot get a job in the career that she wanted. You don't care what job she gets, but the one that she wants is not the one that she has access to in the place that you're in. So while you've got a good job, Her dream has died because of you. That's going to have resentment. Doesn't matter if you're making 10 times more or 5 times less. What matters is she's resenting you because her dreams no longer exist to stay married to you. Okay. Then, now that she's a stay-at-home wife, you think that's fantastic. She does not. But since she stays at the house and has a certain way of doing things, she has the rules around the house that you must follow. You don't like that. You want to be able to put stuff wherever you want to put stuff. She didn't choose to be under your income. She chose to stay married to you. You chose to put her in a position that makes her under your income. This is different from my arguments where I say, well, if the woman wants to be kept, she needs to be subordinate. This woman wanted to be a career woman, and she was forced to not be the career woman in order to stay married, because otherwise she would have maintained her career, you would have moved away, and y'all would have had a long distance marriage, which rarely ever works. So to keep the marriage, she made the sacrifice of relocating to a place that she didn't want to go, where her career doesn't exist, and now she's trying to find a different job that she doesn't want, because the job that she wanted, she had to give up so that she could maintain her marriage. She's going to be pissed off at you forever. Your marriage isn't over. You have to pay more attention to the things that she wants and needs. Some of the most insignificant shit around the house is going to be misdirected rage from the resentment that she harbors because the lifestyle that she had, that she wanted, she no longer has. So something as simple as getting her the fucking phone she asked for is the littlest things that you can do, since you make substantially larger quantities of money, to make sure that she has a little bit of satisfaction in her life, because she has made a huge sacrifice for you that has not provided a return on her investment. It's not just about the stability, it's about the quality of life that she thought she was going to have. And a lot of the modern women in 2026 are career-driven women. So if your wife wanted to be a lawyer, for example, or if she wanted to be a CEO of a company, for example, she was partner in that company. She had to quit that job to move with you, and she would have to start over from the ground up as an intern or a file clerk or some shit. Her career path is gone, right? Her dream of reaching a certain level in the corporate world is over, right? She's not going to be proud of that. She's gonna always harbor resentment. She's not going to leave you, but she's also not going to like you. So you're telling her about designated places to put the laundry that she's going to be doing. You put the laundry wherever the fuck she tells you to put the laundry. So you got a wet towel and she doesn't want it to go in a clothes hamper because the wet towel is going to hold a hell of a lot more moisture than a couple of sweaty shirts. She may want you to hang that motherfucker up over the shower. Hang the motherfucker up over the shower. Put it wherever the fuck she says put it at. Why? Because she's already made the sacrifice for you to go wherever you said go, to have the lifestyle that you want her to have. So the reciprocation there is going to be that whatever rules that she makes around her house that you need to follow so that she can do this with less stress, because she's already pissed off. Do that. Do that. You got you a ride or die female with you, bro. You got to support that nature by giving her the stuff that she needs to be successful, right? Again, I'm still going to advocate the fact that it's not going to be a dictatorship on one side or the other. A husband is not going to be a dictatorship over the wife. The wife is not going to be a dictatorship over the husband. More often than not, in a modern Western relationship, the wife is the dictator over the husband without providing that reciprocation. When we get women from, like, say, I always throw up the Philippines, but the women in the Philippines are leaders of the household. They go to work, they make the money, they come back, they take care of the men. Now, I'm not saying that that's how things should be. What I'm saying is that if I'm going to work, I'm going to bring in money. But I have a wife that'll work, she'll bring in money, and she will take over financial responsibilities that I don't have time for, so that I can spend more time on our investing. I can spend more time on networking. I can spend more time on unorthodox ventures that will make us more successful, because she's going to make sure the bills are paid. She's showing her value because she's willing to take charge in places that I don't have time to perform. I don't have to be everywhere at once. I just have to be on one side of the field while she's on the other. And when I step on to her side, she's playing defense, I'm playing offense. When I step on defense side, I'm following the leader. When she steps on offense side, she's following the leader. So if she's got the house set up in a certain way where the repair guy's going to come, the mechanic's going to come, the lawn guy's going to come, the painter's going to come, you know, on certain days of the week, I need to be out of their way before they get here, because that's when they're supposed to be here, right? Likewise, if I have to relocate us in order for us to have more money, then she needs to pack up the stuff so that we can relocate. It's the mental observation of egalitarianism. It's the observation of a 50-50 split that doesn't always work well. And the reason why it doesn't work well is because broke women believe that 50-50 gives her the authority to dominate the man's resources. 50-50 means an equal contributor. And an equal contributor doesn't always have to be an equal contributor through money. An equal contributor can be an equal contributor through effort, where he pays the majority of the money and she does the majority of the stuff. But women don't want to do the stuff, so the women want to throw up the money so that they're exempt from the stuff and then call it equal. It's not equal in that scenario when you're going to pay for your half of the bills and I'm going to pay for my half of the bills, and then I'm going to pay for all of your entertainment. It's not equal. Women have to recognize, statistically proven, that a woman benefits for 23% of a man's income. A man sacrifices 41% of his income. The difference between the two is that there is an 18% gap in contributions that does not benefit the woman, but it is spent on the woman. That 18% contribution, which could otherwise been invested in long-term retirement, long-term satisfaction, is spent on entertaining her. The lavish gifts, the trips, the vacations, the dinners out, all of this other stuff to make her happy. She doesn't economically benefit from that 18%. It is a emotional dopamine hit that basically just in the moment type of scenario. And that 18% of contribution, that's the 18% of contribution that does not matter when she's ready to file for divorce. And really, when you start thinking about 18% contribution, it depends on how much money he's making. 18% contribution could be upward of $18,000 a year for 10 years. And it doesn't matter because she's ready for the divorce. Why? Because what she wanted out of this relationship, she is not getting, and now she wants out. Now, this man is not doing what he should be doing in this relationship, which is finding out exactly what she would prefer to have so that she could be happy or happier than what she is right now. And the observation is one of the things that she would like to do is move back to where she came from so that she can go back to the job that she had, because that's where she was climbing the corporate ladder. But since that's out of the question, what else can I do for you? Can I get for you? Can I put in your presence so that you can be less disappointed in your scenario? Checking back with your partner, being able to recognize that your partner is not happy and not satisfied, and then finding out where the lack of satisfaction comes from, and then putting in the effort to rectify that. Not always are you going to be able to succeed in that, but until you get to the core problem, you're not going to succeed in changing her attitude. Now, dude mentioned a health issue with the woman and claiming, well, you know, because she has this health issue, that's the reason why we're not intimate. Nah, bro, it's going to be drier than a Sahara Desert because she don't like you no more, because she's doing everything that you need, but you're not putting any effort into what she needs. She feels ignored and she feels emotionally abandoned because at the end of the day, not even the fucking cell phone that she has, that she likes, that she wants, that got broken, can be replaced with the exact same kind of cell phone that she had, that she liked, that she wanted. So she can't get nothing that she wants. Why would she be intimate with you when that's what you want and the fucking flip phone is what she wanted and you didn't get her that? And you're telling me you spent $75,000 on it? He said 75K. I think it might be 75 kroner, but you said 75K on a cell phone. Bro, if you spend 75K on a cell phone, she should have a freaking gold-plated phone with Donald Trump's face on it. It should be a flip phone, satellite phone. It should unlimited minutes. It should be something where she ain't got to worry about everything that she was looking for. It should be on that phone, right? If you don't pay attention to your partner will leave you for someone who will pay attention to your partner. What you're not giving in your relationship will be found outside of your relationship. Now, if this dude would have at any point in time told me that he was dealing with the fact that she talking to other dudes right now, I wouldn't even blame him. Because if what you're looking for in your marriage is not in there, people are going to find it outside of the marriage. That's typically how things go. Let's touch base with the next comment. Oh, real quick. I see somebody had to try to jump into the stage. I see backstage. There's no lag here. There's no lag at all. I see you here. I see a photo. Okay, hold on. We have a nice lady here. Let's see if we can get her in here. Hello to you. Oh, she does have a little bit of lag. If you guys, you had something that you wanted to add to the show today, ma'am? She's pinged from. Oh, we're gonna do audio. Yeah, we can do audio. I don't know what was going on with that. Typically, we have people that come in and we be hoping that they're gonna come in and be appropriate, but you know, Ping came and switched over to something wild, so we had to go ahead and ban her from the show. We're weeding through them on multiple platforms. Matter of fact, because we gotta block some people off of the Twitch platform as well. So, but we ask for you guys when you do come on that you come on and be respectful. We ask you guys to come in and try to contribute positively. If you got something that you got to say, please, by all means, say what you have to say and try to keep it appropriate. If you disagree with me, you disagree with me. I'd love to hear your points. But if just like when Ping came in, and I don't know what that backstage noise was, but I'm like, nah, we're not having that. And we're not even giving you a second chance. We banned the whole IP address. You're going to have to come from a different IP address. But let's go ahead and start with the next comment here.
I found messages that made me question whether my husband truly loves me. I recently saw a private message between my husband and his female friend named B. He told her that he became close friend with a girl named A. Asked her out, but she rejected and said he was too ambitious. Later, he dated another one, broken up with her and asked his crush, but she still said no because she did not want to move to TX. They are both from CA. They still become friends after that. Eventually, he met me and we got married. For years, I thought we have built a happy life here in TX, and he was in live with me. Reading this message, I wonder if I just came as a good time for him, fitting all his plans. I wrote this in despair and left out many details. I know existence of this girl A, and my husband always claims she is just a close friend in college. When I asked him why he texted her so much, this happens after we got married. My family-in-law also knows her very well, and they always think she is a good friend of him. I met her once when we came to visit my in-law. The dinner boiled my blood because she acted like my husband's wife. Oh, X not eating this. X allergic to this. Let's say X is my husband's name. In a table of me, my husband, her, and her husband. Anyway, that is the story of the past that always irritated me. Okay. But since I don't see my husband has done anything suspiciously, I let it go. I once asked me recently if he still kept in touch with A, and he said no since 2022, cause she
Mhm.
had a baby. That's
Right.
weird to me cause friends don't stop talking to each other after kids. My
Yes, it is.
hunch is something else happened that makes him cut her off, but I don't know how to prove it. I wrote this post just to cool down my feeling of betrayal. My husband always told me she is just a friend, but their relationship goes beyond that. Not a couple relationship, but beyond a friendship. Well, I think
Mm,
his approaching emotional affair with this woman, B, is
no.
something that I should be concerned about. But honestly, life happens in a direction you don't want, and I don't have control over his morals, his stand in marriage, whatever.
So from what I'm seeing, your first problem is that you went through his phone, and I'm gonna tell you right now, nobody should go through nobody else's phone. When you're in a relationship with somebody, you're supposed to be able to trust the way that person behaves in front of you, trust the things that that person says to you. And if you stop trusting what that person says and does in your presence, or if you stop trusting what they're doing or not doing outside of your presence, your relationship is over. At no point does investigating their cell phone or investigating their Google history or Googling the social media apps that they have become relevant. When you start having to investigate your romantic partner, the relationship is over. You can try to fix it or whatever the case may be, but you're looking for conflict, which is why you're snooping into their. This in modern 2026, going through your partner's phone is equivalent to like 1980s or 1970s reading somebody's diary. It is not supposed to be done. Okay. And that is a level of mutual respect that has long since been forgotten in relationships with people who are insecure from a previous relationship where they were traumatized by their last relationship through infidelity. So you try to explore the hidden areas of your partner to ensure that they're not cheating on you. That's the worst thing for you to do. Now, as it pertains to the comments, yes, you have this female from way back when that knew him before you met him, and he stayed with you, he married you, all of this stuff. You've got that lady who stayed in contact with him up until you said 2022 is 2026. Now, the concern that we have here is that you are insecure to the magnitude. And this isn't taking a shot. This is the reason why you're harboring resentment and you're declaring potential emotional infidelity, because he has a stronger bond with her than he has with you, because she was there first and she knows more about him than you do. She cares more about his health than you do. She is ultimately behaving more like a wife for him than you are. As you mentioned, she's deflecting his ability to receive certain foods at the table because she knows what his allergies are. You don't give a shit if he eats it and dies and don't care. This type of behavior, what you're instead of being offended by that, you should recognize that while he didn't marry her, that's the behavior that you need to be carrying to your husband. That's the level of attentiveness that needs to be carried to your husband. Because if she's married to somebody else, and if on the outside looking in, those two look like a better couple than you and your husband, then you need to start doing what she's doing for your man. That solves your issue. Because before you start claiming emotional infidelity, you have to recognize that emotional infidelity comes from a lack of emotional stability in the relationship. So if he is not being validated in his relationship by his wife, but he is validated outside of his relationship by his female best friend from college, that's your fault, right? I just talked about this with the dude. If you are not performing in your marriage, you can't get mad at your husband. If you are not performing in your marriage, you can't get mad at the other woman. You aren't doing your part. You got to tighten up. So The family know about this woman. So this woman is not a stranger. She's not a secret. She's not a closet side chick. This is a chick that's been around and been down for whatever since the beginning, but they never got together. It doesn't matter why. It doesn't matter if it was him. It doesn't matter if it was her. Likely it was her. She wasn't interested in him, but she treats him. She, as a friend, is giving him the wife treatment where you, as his wife, are not. And most men in the friend zone don't get that. Most men in the friend zone do not get wife treatment from their wife. Most men in the friend zone don't get wife treatment from their female friend. So when we're getting wife treatment, right? The fact that he ain't left you, that's a miracle. Like we say on a regular basis that a man doesn't get flowers for his entire life until he's dead. That's the one time a man gets flowers, after he's died. When he gets seriously hurt or he's dead, that's when he gets flowers. Women get flowers because they're breathing. They don't have to do shit. A man does not get value until after he's gone. So if he's got somebody valuing him in real time, the threat that you're feeling right now, your level of insecurity, is coming from the fact that you have clear observation that you've got competition. Now, you claim, oh, well, they have something going on. No, you know that he could have something going on because she's treating him better than you're treating him. But for some reason, they don't have anything going on. You're concerned about him stop talking to her because she had a baby. Oh, you know, people have children. They don't talk all the time. No. If the woman got a child, newborn baby, she got so much time and effort with this baby crying, and she ain't have time to be on the phone. Then when she finally finished with the baby, she trying to sleep. Then when she not sleep, she got to deal with her husband. She don't got time to be on the phone. So yes, if you have a child, just like some of the females in your group might have a baby, stop coming around. Ever since the child was born, don't have enough time for friends. Just because it's a dude doesn't change nothing. The fact is that yes, she and him could stop talking to one another simply because she got too much going on in her life to have time to socialize with her friends. But you also have to recognize y'all are mutual couple friends right now. Her husband knows about y'all. You know about them. So if her husband feel like you and be like, hey, you know, you probably should talk to him less when I'm not around, she could just stop because her husband asked her to. But when we're at the family get-togethers, she's part of the family. That's why she's at the family get-togethers. And she's treating your husband better than you treat your husband. Girl, step your game up. Step your game up. Y'all know we back in the day. And I said it that many times because you got to think, back in the day before technology. If the dudes was treating their girls a certain way, and then another dude came out of nowhere and started overdoing it for his girl, we would be telling him, hey, man, you know, you need to slow down with how you treating your girl because you're making the rest of us look bad, right? I got to do more because now my girl is looking at how you treat her, and now she's going to come and tell me I'm not doing enough, right? That's exactly what's going on right now. You're mad at this girl. You want this girl to slow down because she's doing too much for your husband, which is going to force you to have to up your game for your husband. Now, when we were talking about an hour and a half ago, when we were talking about fighting for your marriage, fighting for your relationship, guess what? That is fighting for your marriage. Not forcing the girl to stop treating your husband like a king, but because another woman can treat your husband better than you, in order for you to keep your husband, you need to treat your husband better. No one outside of your marriage should treat your partner better than you treat your partner. So if you find somebody outside of your relationship treating your partner better than you're treating your partner, you are not doing enough. You need to do more. It doesn't matter how tired you are. It doesn't matter how exhausted mentally you are. It doesn't matter how much time you put into the situation. If you want your marriage to last, your objective is to outdo society. Because it is supposed to be us against the world, not us against each other. So if society is treating you better than me, then I need to treat you better. And that's what y'all need to remember. All right, let's go ahead and touch base with the next one.
I am 45 and I moved in with my girlfriend who is 35 after 2 years of dating and now feel we may not be compatible. What should I do? I got divorced about 2 years ago and later started dating my current girlfriend. We have been together for about 2 years and recently decided to try living together before making any decision about engagement or marriage. Soon after we moved in together, I started feeling very differently about the relationship. Living together is making me realize that we may not be compatible long-term. I don't want to marry unless my heart and mind are genuinely comfortable with the decision. The difficult part is that she becomes extremely emotional whenever I express doubts or ask for space. She cries, wants to continue discussing things for hours, sometimes until midnight or later, and has said things like, "I will die if you don't marry me."
So,
Even when I politely tell her that I need space to work or calm down, she continues trying to discuss the relationship. I don't want to hurt her or handle this irresponsibly, but the constant discussions are becoming mentally exhausting and stressful for me. I also don't want to make a marriage decision because of guilt, emotional pressure, or fear of what she might do. Advice I'm looking for: how can I respectfully but firmly create space or end a live-in relationship when my partner is extremely emotional and doesn't easily accept boundaries? How should I responsibly handle statements like, "I will die if you don't marry me"?
okay.
Relationship length: about 2 years. The main concern: we discussed these boundaries before moving in, she agreed to them, but I'm seeing many of the same behaviors continue after we started living together. Privacy: she listens to my phone conversations and later questions me about things she heard. No secrets, both are fully committed, she has curiosity. Constant attention: I feel she expects most of my free time and attention to be focused on her and gets upset when I want independent time. Jealousy: she gets jealous even about normal/happy conversations with my sisters, relatives, friends, or professional interactions. Constant updates: when I go out, she expects frequent updates about where I am, what I'm doing, and when I'll return. Kids/ex boundaries: she gets upset about interactions with my ex regarding my children and wants to get involved, even though we agreed before moving in that my kids/co-parenting would remain separate. Not giving space: when disagreements start, she doesn't easily accept a pause. Even when I need to work, sleep, or calm down, she can continue the conversation for hours.
All right. I'm gonna try my best to touch base on each one of these things. First, this is one of the reasons why girlfriend contracts make sense, because you can have a performance contract, like this is how we expect to behave in the relationship, and if we don't behave this way, then we agree to break up. And then after we break up, this is going to be the division of assets. I didn't even put that agreement into the girlfriend contract that we have, because I gave you guys a document that you can utilize to make sure that your stuff doesn't get caught up with their stuff. But if you guys agree that this is how we're going to behave in a relationship, and if we don't behave in a relationship, that's your non-negotiable expectations for behavior. When your partner does not perform, the relationship is over. So there's no discussion there. If you moved in and she is not doing what she said she was going to do, you move out. If she takes her own life as a result of that, that's one less thing you got to deal with. I know that's cold-blooded and cruel, but look, nobody can hold you hostage in a relationship under the threat that they will hurt themselves or you. If you are not comfortable in that relationship, you leave, and whatever they do to themselves, that's them. Okay? Now, when it comes down to how do you deal with that, you let her know, look, if you continue to threaten your safety when I talk to you, one, I'm going to have you committed because you're threatening your own safety. Two, while you're committed, I'm going to leave. So when you do get out, I'm not going to be here because I don't deal with that kind of stuff. You don't got to just let them knock themselves off. You just let them know that if you threaten to cause harm to yourself, I'm going to dial one of those Baker Act phone numbers and have you put into a 72-hour hold. And during that 72 hours, I'm going to move out. I'm just letting you know. I'm not going to hold you down on that type of chaos. That's toxic relationships, and we don't need to be in those in 2026. Now, the other side of things, when we recognize certain boundaries, certain expectations that you have for them, full disclosure and full transparency relationships comes from no resentment, no retaliation, and no judgment. Now, what that means is is that if I decide to tell you something, that you do not react to it. That does not mean that I got to tell you everything that's going on. Okay, so if I get up and go answer the phone, I have a conversation. Most of us do not have the type of house that has concrete walls where you can't hear what's going on in the other room. So if I'm talking loud enough, especially if I'm emotionally invested in the conversation that I'm having on the phone, most of us already, our voice elevates from how we talk in person to how we talk on the phone. And that elevation is going to be elevated even higher if we're in a situation where we're emotionally invested in the discussion and the discussion is not going the way we would like for it to go. So in that dynamic, you can hear us talking in the other room about whatever it is going on. Now, that is none of your fucking business, which ultimately means that when I come out of the room off of the phone, you should not come and engage me at any point in time. What was that conversation about? Because if it was supposed to be your business, then I would have had the conversation in front of you on speakerphone. I didn't have the conversation in front of you on speakerphone, so it's none of your fucking business. We live in houses where we cohabitate, and whoever opens the mail opens the mail. If it's for me to deal with, you shouldn't open the damn mail. I don't give a fuck if it's your mail. I don't give a fuck if it's my mail. Once you open the envelope, whatever the fuck is in that envelope, you got to deal with that shit. I shouldn't have to deal with it. I should not be the second person to come to a pre-opened envelope where bullshit needs to be taken care of, and you ignored the bullshit and left it on me. Especially if it's your shit, not mine. Some people, curious. It's not curious. She's nosy as fuck. The issue is that she's insecure about the fact that she's been in relationships where dudes have left. And this is a level of insecurity that a lot of people have. The people who track your performance with society are the people that are emotionally insecure about their current relationship because they have experienced a large number of bad relationships in the past where they weren't paying attention. They ended up losing the relationship, and they realized that the relationship was over long before they paid attention to the fact that the relationship was over. That is why they're micromanaging their behavior now, because they want to make sure that the moment that they see infidelity coming, that they can get out of this relationship in the present so that they don't spend 3, 6, 9, 12 months in a relationship with somebody that is cheating on them now the way they spent that much time in a relationship with somebody cheating on them before. That's not a you problem. That's a them problem. Now, we've already come to understand that if you don't trust me, you don't need to be here. That's the first issue. If you don't trust me, you don't need to be here. But if you trust me, you don't need to stalk me neither. Now, I do agree with her ability to have him check in and let her know where he's at, who she's with, and you know how long he's going to be there. Modern 2026, we're so independent and self-preservation and sustainable to the fact that we don't give a fuck about the other person. So we feel like it's intrusive to check in. But your partner, again, we're supposed to fight for our marriage. It's us against the world. Your partner is supposed to be your emergency contact. They're supposed to be the first person that you call before you call the police. It's call my partner, call the cops. Call my partner, call an ambulance. Unless I'm debilitated and I can't make the call, then whoever's with me will call the ambulance and then call my partner. But when the shit hits the fan for me, my partner should, one, already know what I was about to get myself into so that she can be prepared to come to my aid. That's how it should be. Now, more often than not, the man is supposed to be coming to the aid of the woman, but egalitarian expectations, equality expectations. If the man is caught into some bullshit that needs two people to get through, the woman is supposed to be the support. She's supposed to bring that. If it's getting down to that, she bring the Glock switch. She's regulating. I seen on social media one day that a man was about to get robbed by another man on a motorcycle. The man that was about to get robbed, his wife ran over the other guy so that that guy wouldn't rob the husband. That's what your wife is for. If this situation starts getting outside of my hand, it's like, she gonna regulate. I know some people are like, oh, but I thought you said, lots of squads say this, that, and third. Look, it makes a lot more sense for you to have the kind of partner that's going to benefit your outcome. And if a lot of the times you end up in a situation where your outcome requires for you to get some a reprieve, like some type of assistance, your partner needs to be the one that provides you with that assistance. So yes, I do believe that you should be able to tell your wife where you're going before you leave, and she not judge you, she not retaliate against it, she not provide resentment towards it. You go do what you got to do. You let her know when you get there. You let her know who all is here. You let her know if you're going somewhere else. You let her know who all was there. You let her know when you're on your way back. You let her know who's riding with you. And why do you do this? Because if at any point between point A, point B, point C in my house, something goes south, I don't make it to my next destination, or I end up stranded. As adults, it takes 72 hours before police give a shit. As a partner, it takes 30 minutes for me to realize that your ass is late. I can get to you faster if I know it only takes you 30 minutes to get there and it's been 40 and you haven't checked in, than what the police will give. It takes, what, 30 seconds to lose your life in a conflict? Imagine 72 hours of suffering before the police starts looking for you. If your partner knew where you was when you need help, your partner might get there faster than a 45-minute response time with law enforcement. So letting your partner know where you at, letting your partner know how far away you are, giving your partner the directions, giving your partner the location so they have the address. That's what we used to do before technology came out. Back in the day, they had license plate of the vehicle, the make and model that we was rolling in. You know, when we had Kodak moments, we used to take photos of ourselves so that we knew what the last outfit that we were wearing. We take pictures on a regular basis back in the day and put it into a scrapbook, right? Then when something went down, when things went south, we had the capability to know where our partner's last whereabouts were, who was last seen with them, what vehicle were they last in. These are the questions that police ask the partner when your ass come up missing. So if your partner can't ask those questions, how the fuck they gonna find you? Now you chained up in a basement somewhere getting your ass whooped for 3 days before the police start looking for you. So don't get salty because your partner want to make sure that you're okay. Now, ladies, don't stalk your man just to make sure that he's not cheating. If the only reason why you want to know where your partner is at is so that you can ensure that he's not cheating, you don't need to know where he's at. If you're not trying to pay attention to his whereabouts so that you can help him if he needs help, then you don't need to know where he's at, right? And that's the same that goes for men. If you are only following her location to make sure that she's not going back over by her ex, you don't need to know where she at. Because if you don't trust your partner to be where they say they're going to be at, y'all don't need to be in a relationship together. Plain and simple. Now let's touch base with, what else were we talking about? Personal space. He was talking about personal space. You work from home and you ask your partner to give you space. Your partner don't want to give you space. And the reason why your partner doesn't want to give you space, especially if she's trying to talk you into marriage. She's talking you into marriage and she doesn't want to let the conversation go until you agree with her. If you agree with her, you're bound to a verbal agreement that you're going to elevate her status that she has not earned. You need to be able to make it clear to her that you're going to have set times out of the week on your days off where you guys can reevaluate the status. You should be able to explain to her what you expect her to perform, and this is regular basis performance, not once in a lifetime performance, which ultimately means that while y'all are not together, you could draft a document that shows all the things that I want my wife to do, and then check off what she does on a regular basis. And the things that she is not doing are the reasons why you're not married yet. Plain and simple. She's not wife material yet. She's girlfriend material to some degree from what you claim she could have been, but she's not wife material. But y'all been living together for 2 years. Oh no, y'all dated for 2 years and then you moved in. So she performed the way you expected her to perform. Then you moved into her house, and now she's not performing that way. She's not wife material. If you was working at a Wendy's and you're not performing to the magnitude of a shift manager or a store manager, you can ask for a promotion, but they're always going to tell you no. Yeah, you do your job, but you're not doing the job of the next level up. And because you're not doing the job of the next level up, you don't get that promotion. So you got to be clear about that. Now, when it comes down to the fact that she's arguing you down or negotiating and debating 12, 1 o'clock, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, where she has no respect for you, she has no respect for your time, all she cares about is what she wants. Again, women are selfish, men are inconsiderate. The fact is, you have to set the dynamic that, look, we can do a performance review. It's only going to be 30 minutes long. I'm going to tell you how close you are to what I expect from my wife. And if you're not meeting that expectation, that's why you're not getting proposed to. I'm not going to talk about it for 4 hours. I'm not going to talk about it for 10 hours, because if you're not performing, you're not performing. You can validate your lack of performance all day long, but the fact is that your lack of performance is why you're not married yet. So until you perform to my expectations, you're not going to get married. Now, that does not mean that I'm going to back out of the relationship because you're not performing, but I am not going to progress the relationship either because you're not performing. Now, you give me an ultimatum to marry you or leave, I'll pack my shit up and leave because this ain't my house, and you're not performing, right? So you gotta let her know on that note. Now, what was the other thing you said? Okay, you said about the respect the boundaries between you and your baby mama and your child. That is none of her fucking business. So you made it clear to her that when my baby mama come, when my ex-wife come, when my ex-girlfriend show up, with my child, what's going on between me and her got nothing to do with you. You guys agreed with that. This is one of the reasons why we don't date people with children. Men don't date women with children. Women don't want to date men with children. This is why. It is not your place. Because it is not your place, you don't need to know what I'm talking about with my baby mama until the child comes over to my house with you, or now your house with me, and the child now becomes your obligation. That's when you need to know what's going on. Hey, I got visitation this weekend. I'm going to be bringing my kid over. Is everything okay with you on that? Right? But when it comes down to, I got to give my baby mama money for my child, that's none of your damn business. I got to buy something for my child, that's none of your business. School supplies, tuition, all of that, none of your business. Because it really requires for you to perform, and you're not performing. Right? Now, when we're looking at the list of things that you provided, we're looking at the list of things that you provided. You provided a scenario where you're not happy with the outcome, and it's not working out for you, right? And since it's not working out for you, your best bet would be to move out. You don't have to break up with her. You need to move out, put some distance between y'all, and then you need to go ahead and talk to her from a distance until she starts performing the way you expect her to perform, and then you might move back in. But until you do that, it's not going to work out between you and her. And ultimately, you have to set non-negotiable expectations for behavior. When you move out, you're putting her on like a 30-day, 90-day probationary period, and if she does not perform, then you put her out. Or not put her out, you're already out. You in the relationship. All men must have non-negotiable expectations for behavior, and they must stand on that, not allow a woman to shame or dismiss them, because a man's values is a man's values. And if she doesn't respect him, if she doesn't value him, then at the end of the day, she's going to have to get replaced by a woman at will. Men bend over backwards, bowing down and groveling at the feet of the woman that they want. And a woman will find that reciprocating that exact same behavior is oppressive. At the end of the day, what your man is willing to do for you is what you better do for him, or he will replace you with a woman that will. And men need to understand that if we have the type of behavior pattern where we will give the woman everything that we can, majority of the things that she wants and everything that she needs, I need a woman that's going to give me everything that I need. And if she's not going to be that woman, it's not going to work for me. Right? And it doesn't matter what she says. It doesn't matter what she does. It doesn't matter how attractive she is. It doesn't matter how good the sex is. If she is not providing what the relationship needs to survive, she doesn't belong here. And that's when you withdraw. Now I look at a couple of guys going back and forth here, asking to dive into the show. You say you need help financially. You have not put one financial question into the comment section. I usually like to try to bring people onto the show, but I've experienced a lot of trolls lately. So I'm more reluctant to not bring you onto the show unless we've had a long-standing positive conversation on the show over a period of shows where you guys are showing true value in the show. And if you're contributing enough value to the show, then I feel like I should bring you guys onto the show after a decent quantity of contribution. So even on the YouTube side of things, I'm less often going to be bringing people on the show that has not contributed to the conversation prior to entry. Because at the end of the day, you guys think that because you ask to be put on, that I can put you on and then you control the podcast, get your little laugh on, and then go on about your day. But this is a live podcast that is designed to help teach and motivate people to grow and better themselves. This isn't just a bunch of people hanging around a campfire, shooting a breeze, where anybody can jump in just for us to sit there and smoke and talk shit. The goal is forward-thinking progress. And since the goal is forward-thinking progress, I have to see forward-thinking behavior pattern over a number of episodes before I start thinking, yeah, I'll bring you in. Now, if I see somebody that's having a long-term conversation with me, like Wisdom's been here for a long period of time. OG Kicks, Steven, Michael, Joe Jack, been here a long period of time, positively contributing to the conversations. FX Trader for a long period of time. I see one of them wanting to jump into the live, like Dylan, one of the members of the membership, wanting to jump into the live. I feel more confident with them providing a wisdom to the show than the strangers that I only know of them because they're asking to be seen on the camera. You want your 15 seconds of fame. I'm not interested in giving you your 15 seconds of fame because this show wasn't about me making myself famous. I found a pain point in our society where common knowledge is not all too common. I have found a pain point in our society where the ability to grow and progress and improve is stifled by our lack of accessibility to common knowledge. And I decided to rearrange this podcast because this podcast was going down a different path in 2023. And I decided in late 2024 to rearrange this podcast to be the kind of podcast that people actually benefit from. Right? So this isn't a red pill, blue pill, black pill podcast. This isn't a left wing podcast. This isn't a right wing podcast. This is the kind of podcast that focuses on your ability to make, save, and invest money. This is the kind of podcast that focuses on your ability to make better decisions. After you've made, saved, and invested that money, you are now spending that money more wisely. And since that is what type of show this is, the people that come onto the show, I expect to be held to the same standard that I provide. So since I provide intellect, insight, and information, I expect the people that come onto the show to be able to reciprocate that. And since I have recently been experiencing a lot of people that are coming onto the show that just are looking for a little kiki time, you want to Moe's Tavern call the show so that you can jump on and say something inappropriate and get your laugh in as you get blocked from the channel permanently. I'm not here for your thrills because I could care less if you come onto the show live. I could be a mono speaker for the entire 4-hour show. But the integration that we have with the other people on the other platforms that are here is the goal is to be one of very few podcasts trailblazing a multi-platform integrated conversation of growth and improvement with ultimately middle-aged individuals. So when you asked to come on, we've been on for 3 hours. You haven't provided any positive feedback to the conversations that we've been having. And you just want me to put you on because you asked me to. I'm going to tell you, no, I'm not going to bring you on because I don't know who you are. And I can't tell if you're going to say anything positive on the show. We've already had one person come in and be negative on the show. And I don't plan on having a third or fourth, since actually we finished all of the other comments coming onto the show and we're about to wrap things up. But even if we would have just gotten started, the thousands of people that are watching the show between YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok, at the very least, we have more than enough people watching the show to have a smaller group of intellectual individuals that are willing to grow and improve. That there's no desperation for trolls to get their laugh on by popping into the comment section and then jumping from the comment section into the live to say something or do something inappropriate and then jump back off. You know, for you, invading the live makes you feel good. But for the rest of us that came here for a positive reason, seeing inappropriate behavior on a live, that devalues our ability to get the content that we were looking for. And there's a lot of people that come here specifically because this is the only podcast that you'll find on TikTok that is not just sitting here complaining about women or complaining about men or complaining about Trump. I'm literally telling you guys the ways that you can make your situation better. First person accountability. And this is the only podcast that's doing it. I'm not a guru that's going to sit here and swear to God that if you buy my membership, that I'll change your life forever. I'm showing you that I'm changing your life forever for free. And if you buy my membership, you get detailed information that is not being provided outside of the membership. I'm not a guy that's going to tell you that you can make yourself $1 million overnight, because that's a lie. Not legally, you can't. But I am telling you that if you pay attention to where you want to see your life in the next 30 years and you start making changes today, that over the next 2 to 5 years, you'll start seeing the type of improvement that lets you know that you're on the right path. I also know that if you don't like the way the last 6 months of your life has been, the next 6 months you'd be doing different things. There's something in your life right now, which is the reason why you're trolling social media, that you don't like. That's why you're on social media, because if you love the life that you were living, you would not be on your phone. Does the membership help with, I don't know what that is. Okay, so the membership gives you the majority of the intro level information and some in-depth information that you would need to make, save, and invest money. Different strategies for investing, different strategies to start up businesses, different types of pain points in our society that you can actually start up your own business with online, where you can become a digital nomad instead of working for somebody else. Different ways to budget, different ways to invest, different ways to save, different ways to reallocate your money, different ways to think about putting your money in, or putting your decisions towards better benefiting you with your money, because every decision that you make costs you something. There isn't a free decision that you can make, right? How often you eat costs money. How much you eat, the price of the food, where you go, how much it costs to get there, staying at the house, whether or not you have your AC on, how much it costs to stay home, who you're hanging out with, how much it costs to stay with them, when you want to do something for somebody, how much it costs for you to do something for them, when you want somebody to do something for you, how much it will cost you to reimburse them for doing something for you, because people don't do stuff for free. They expect something in return. They call it a gift, but then they ask you for a favor. That's a return on investment. And typically the favor is a whole lot more than the gift was. So we have to think about where our money is going and why it's going there. And then we have to ask ourselves, is it worth it? Do we benefit from it? And you're asking me about this thing, and I don't know what that is. That's an anagram that probably is inappropriate, which is why you're not writing out the full thing. But I can tell you, hands down, that if your question is asking me if it will aid you in your ability to make, save, invest money, or improve your social skills, or improve your networking skills, or improve your ability to build your brand, or improve your ability to communicate with your employer and get raises and promotions, then yes, it does. But if that's not what your question is asking you, then no, it will not. Because my podcast nor the membership will aid you in anything inappropriate. So if your question is asking about providing support for something inappropriate, no, my podcast does not provide support for inappropriate behavior or inappropriate content. So that's something that you guys need to think about. But since that's all we have for you for tonight, because we had a lot of stuff going on tonight, I want to make sure that y'all know that tomorrow, Monday, we actually are going to be covering the housing market from multiple different angles. I know we covered the housing market before, but some new stuff just came up that over the last week where bills, not bills, like initiatives are being passed around, and those initiatives are about to be voted on. And if they got voted on, more things are going to be changing in real estate. And that means, I appreciate the roses. That means that you guys will start experiencing another level of real estate reinvestment, which is going to be a concern, because like for those of us that are investing in the real estate market, we're going to start seeing a dip in the share price. While the dividend should not get cut a second time, but we're going to see a dip in the share price, which is good for us because we get to buy more shares cheaper. But the dip in the share price is going to be because there's more things that are about to start changing about the houses that are about to start becoming available, because the laws that were passed by Donald Trump puts people in a position where more houses are being sold, because the big business has to cap at like 305 or 350 houses, and everything above that has to go up for sale. So those real estate companies that had millions of single family homes, or not millions, but like hundreds of thousands of single family homes, now got to put the majority of those single family homes up for sale. And now they're starting to change and make different ways for you guys to pick up real estate. And that would make us have better capabilities to pick up a home if we don't already have one. And if we wanted to get a second or third home so that we could start developing rental properties for us to have an income to pay for our primary home, we would be able to do that more effectively. He said they're recording this off of a Nokia. No, actually, we're not recording this off of a Nokia. We're recording it off of a Lenovo, but we reduced the pixelation to handle streaming off of multiple platforms, because we actually have multiple platforms available to us. And it is taking a lot of processing power on this 2023 Lenovo, which requires me to get a larger computer. It probably cost me $2,500 to get, and it is not inside of the budget of the platform. So we haven't gotten a bigger computer yet. But once we get a bigger computer, then we'll go back to HD pixelation. But the quality of the video is not important. It's the information that you're receiving. And we could do this as an audio podcast, and the information would be equally important to you. We could do a podcast with no visuals, and the information will be equally important to you. But for you to see, a middle-aged man talking about better ways to improve yourselves, I mean, do I need to be in HD for you to shut up and listen? I don't think so. Wisdom says, well, you should stop with the money topics. Mixed money with love is complex. Money friendly, like you can't speak on love. Stop ranting on such topics. You're crossing this limit all time. This is a pure working market. Love is complex than finance, but love is complex than science. Okay, so I respect that, but what you got to understand is that in order for, first of all, as complex as love is, the dating market right now is fundamentally financial. Most interactions are financial interactions. They're transactional. Women are not willing to date men that are not willing to pay for the women. So since it's becoming transactional, it won't help. You say, he said, I mean, it would help. No, well, it won't help. You got to think about this. So, for example, a man walks up to a woman. He thinks she's attractive. He wants to get her number. a lot of, especially the broke women, immediately either wants him to spend money on her just to get her name and get her number or whatever, or she's going to judge him by the career he says he has and the income that he says he claims. And if he's inviting her out on a date, she wants to know exactly how much he's going to spend on a date so that she can decide if it's worth her time, what she's going to receive from him, without ever presenting her value to the man. Transactional. If he's willing to spend enough money on her, she'll go. If he makes enough money, she'll listen. If he has a prestige enough job, then she'll entertain his offer. But if not, then she'll devalue him in front of her group and shame him for even trying to talk to her and dismiss it. That is the culture we have right now. If you manage to get into the relationship, she is committing to the resources that you're going to provide to her. You have to have the resources in order to get the girl. If you don't have the resources, you're not going to get the girl. If you are spending above your means to entertain the girl in a dating phase, when she commits and moves in and finds out that you have more debt than you have income, she's going to leave because you have more financial problems than she thought you had. In order for you guys to marry, marriage is not about love. Marriage is a tax exemption. It is the union of two entities that are basically becoming a joint venture where you guys are coming together and sharing your resources, right? So nothing about love in 2026 is not financial. A man is not going to find the right woman if he does not have the resources to support her. Therefore, in order for you to talk about love, you got to talk about money. Now, you can't talk about money without talking about love, because when you make money as a man, the money that you make, 41% of it is spent on women, whether it's first dates or a consistent relationship or Backpage, OnlyFans, whatever. You're spending money on women somewhere. The majority of your income that is not going towards your financial future is going towards some chick somewhere. The majority of the time. So you can make $250,000 a year, live a $200,000 a year lifestyle, and be giving $50,000 a year to women. You still be broke. Yes, you might have more interactions with more women, but you're still broke. And then as a man, your inability to build a legacy is going to be because you are attracted to the wrong kind of woman, who you are attracting by the wrong type of behavior pattern. Because since you are attracting women that want you to give to them without reciprocation, by throwing enough money in the air, a bunch of women will come to pick that money up, but none of those women are valuable to you because none of them will help you earn the money you're throwing in the air, but they expect you to throw the money in the air so that they can stay around you. So you cannot stop talking about money topics when more than 77% of America is financially suffering. We have to talk about a better way to live so that we can stop suffering. You cannot talk about relationships without talking about money, because the majority of relationships that fall apart are falling apart because of the lack of respect for men, infidelity in relationships, and a lack of money. Money fights lead to infidelity, and infidelity leads to breakups. So you can't have one without the other, which is why half of the week we talk about money, and the other half of the week we talk about getting your shit together in your personal life. Because if you don't fix your personal life, how are you going to be able to focus on your job when your girlfriend got you an hour late for work because she won't get off the topic because she has to win the argument in order for the argument to stop? The argument started because you were unhappy, not she was unhappy. But you must apologize to her before you can go to work. Now you're late for work. If that happens 3 times a week, you're going to get fired. A lot of successful people in their careers lose that career either because they choose their relationship or because they have a toxic relationship that is distracting them from their job. You know, those employers that tell you leave your personal life at home, that's because your boyfriend or your girlfriend should not be coming on your job raising hell on the job where you got to call the police and have them escorted off the job when you come to work. We should not have chaos on the job because your spouse showed up. So we can't talk about being successful in business if we don't talk about your personal life. Likewise, if you're stressed out about what's going on at your house, then you are going to be making bad decisions on your job, trying to get extra money so that you can take care of these financial problems at your house, where these financial problems at your house stem from either you or your partner screwing up. If you screwed up and you have to make it up to your partner, now you got to get all this money and go and buy your partner a gift so that they can stop being mad at you. Or if your partner screwed up, now you got to get a bunch of money to come bail your partner out of a problem that they caused. If you don't make enough money, your boss isn't giving you the raises that you need, your boss isn't giving you the promotions that come with the raises that you need, you're going to harbor resentment from the job. And some people start stealing off the job when they can't get what they need off of the job, which will cause you to lose the job. There's so many reasons why your personal life negatively impacts your professional life. And your professional life depends on your personal life being stable, which is why men want a woman that brings them peace. Because if she brings him peace, he can focus on making more money for her to have a better lifestyle and a better capability to keep him at peace. Listen to the last 3 guys that came here. One of the last ones was like, man, I bought a housekeeper so that she can focus on her career. What? You ain't got to do shit around the house. There's a housekeeper here. So if you stay at home wife and there's a housekeeper here, you don't got to do shit. Do you understand the problem there? He's making the money. He's paying for extra people to be in the house so that his wife doesn't have to do nothing. But she is still unhappy. So how can he focus on exploring new ventures in his career if he's worried that he's going to get a divorce? And then a lot of times, take Shannon Sharpe, for example, lost out on an ESPN contract because of his divorce. Had he not had that divorce, he would have got that contract. Millions of dollars are lost because he had to get that divorce. The majority of successful women made their millions off of divorce. So how can a man become a higher value man of status if he's going to give 75% of what it took him 75% of his life to make to the woman that just left, where now he has to start over? How can we talk about being successful if we're not going to talk about making the right decisions in your personal life that would directly impact your success? You can't have one without the other. If you're only talking about one, you're screwing up because the other one will directly impact the first one. He says when marriage itself can't be about love because divorce makes love nonsensical, then dating too doesn't lead to love. Only children leads to true love. Children don't lead to love neither. I don't think you can understand this as I don't know, I guess you're trying to say influencer. Ultimately, wisdom, the lack of wisdom that you have in this particular observation is that marriage itself is a demand from the woman to have commitment to the assets of the man. Okay, that's where marriage is. The phase to go from being the girlfriend to the wife is a status upgrade to the woman. She demands that because that gives her more security over the assets of the man. The man doesn't demand the marriage. The man performs the marriage, usually under duress, because the girlfriend gives him an ultimatum. The girlfriend's family pressures the marriage. The boyfriend's family pressures the marriage. Societal pressure for the marriage. Y'all have been together for 5 years. Why don't y'all get married? Because she's not what I wanted a wife to be. But a lot of men don't have the courage to say that. Children do not bring true love. You do not develop love for your baby mama because she had your baby. Women who get pregnant just to get the child support are not getting pregnant because they love the man. They're getting pregnant because the man is a paycheck, not because he's valuable. A lot of women that are single family households where the women are taking care of the kids by themselves and demanding the child support from the man, they chose child support over co-parenting, over joint custody. Not because they love the man after having a child, and they don't always love the child. The child sometimes is a tool or a catalyst for the capital from the man. Children don't make the relationship better. And anybody who tells you that is wrong. They're lying to you. Children do not make the relationship better. It makes the relationship harder. Right? You have children by choice, but it does not make the relationship better. So if you're thinking about getting pregnant to make your relationship better, if your relationship is shit, do not get pregnant. Okay? Because it's not going to get better. You're just going to bring the child into a toxic family. It's a marriage is just like a business contract, but not about love. Yes, yes, exactly. Marriage is just like a business. It's a family business. It's the merger of two estates, your estate and my estate. And it ultimately boils down to how well we work together. And the dissolvement of this union is going to be the division of assets, where she's going to walk off with more than half of it if you don't have it contracted out otherwise. By default, she's entitled to half of it unless you can contract it otherwise. So it is smarter for you to preserve your assets, especially when you have all of the assets and she's only bringing the clothes on her back. You want to make sure that you contract your assets so that when she leaves, she's leaving with the clothes on her back. Not because she's not entitled to your estate because she didn't contribute to it to have entitlement to your estate. So I appreciate your unorthodox observation, because I'm not looking for a podcast full of yes men, but true to the magnitude, the primary goal from birth, men are taught by women and men alike that a man is supposed to protect and provide. A man is supposed to lead the household. A man is supposed to create his family with the woman of his choosing. And the man does not get to dictate those terms. The man has to a bunch of women that he looks at to see which one will agree to give this a try. So instead of the men accepting applications and doing interviews, the men are putting in the applications and seeing if the interview will work out in his favor, where he's offering all of this stuff and hoping that she says yes. It's not working. It worked back in the 40s and 50s and 60s, but in 2026, that doesn't work. She can make her own bag. So at the end of the day, why am I putting all my money on the table for her to then turn around and say, oh, well, you're still not valuable? He says, yo, can you let me up? As I said earlier in the show, if you're providing value to the comment section, eventually I'll let you up. But if you're not providing value to the comment section, then no. Wisdom says, I appreciate your efforts on this complex topic. Good answers. Thank you. Not every financial person knows that knows at this level you have. Good one again. Hey, I do the best thing that I have. I mean, I do the best thing that I can to, you're telling me what? My man, look, I'm over here talking to people on YouTube right now. So if you came to the podcast to pay attention to how many people are here, then you didn't come here to provide anything positive to the channel. So, you're lucky that I didn't block you as soon as you said that, but I'm just going to leave you linger, because at the end of the day, you're not providing value to the channel. But yes, I'm not. What I talked about with Michael yesterday on the show, Wisdom, was that first and foremost, not a lot of people who get on podcasts or anywhere else and they talk about finance actually talk about the whole picture. More often than not, they talk about a specific concept, and they'll drive that concept home for hours. Like we talked about yesterday with Steve Jobs, one of the books that Steve Jobs had wrote, where one of the concepts was the avalanche effect and the snowball effect, which I've covered on the show multiple times when you're trying to pay off a high interest debt to improve your financial status. Concepts are exactly that, concepts, practicality, when you take that concept and put it into action. That's two different things. So I tell you how to take a financial concept and apply it to your everyday life. Where the financial gurus fall off is that they will tell you, cliff note, the ideology of the best way to go about doing things. But they fail to tell you the fundamental position you have to be in to accomplish that. I can tell you that you can buy a fourplex and live in one of the units, rent out the other three, have them pay off the loan, and you can start up a rental business just from doing that. And you can ultimately acquire that property by using somebody else's money. But the truth of the matter is, in order for you to use somebody else's money, you either have to have that money from a credit card, which means you have to have good credit to have that high level of credit card to buy that fourplex, because a fourplex is probably going to be a few $100,000, which means you're probably going to have $25,000 to $50,000 down on a property. You would have to have $50,000 worth of credit cards, which means you would have to have a 720 or 810 in order to have that $50,000 worth of credit cards. You would have to leverage those credit cards to buy that property. Or if you were going to get a loan, you would have to have a good payment history. Even if you have a low credit limit, you would have to have a good payment history and low debt for you to get it from a bank. If you're going to get it from a what we call that bridge loan, from a hard money lender, you might not need to have fantastic credit, but you would have to have a large enough quantity of income and the willingness to pay the notes to get that 14% loan instead of getting the 8% loan from the bank, where you get a bridge loan from a hard money lender to get that property. You're not just going to walk up where your best friend who works at Taco Bell making $10 an hour is going to front you 50 grand to go and get a property. You don't know the average person doesn't know a wealthy person who's going to front you cash on faith to buy that fourplex. So ultimately, I would have to tell you all of the different ways you can go about making that 50K or earning that 50K or getting your financial status up to borrow that 50K so that you can qualify for the ability to get the fourplex, so that you can then renovate the fourplex, so that you can then put the tenants in there so that the tenants can pay back the loan, which is bridging the gap between where you are and where the advice starts, which is what I was talking to Michael about yesterday. I bridge the gap between where you are in your life versus where the advice starts, because the advice starts when you're ready. Same thing with the credit card thing. Let me go back to the credit card thing. In order for you to overpay on a credit card, let's say you have a $250 a month payments on your credit cards. Let's say you have $10,000 credit cards. Doesn't matter how many credit cards you have can have 3 of them, different values. But you have $10,000 worth of credit cards, you have $250 worth of credit card payments a month. In order for the snowball effect or the avalanche effect to work, you would have to have more than $250 a month that you can utilize to pay down those credit cards. Because if you have less than that, you're barely able to pay off the credit card. So how would the snowball method or the avalanche method work? If you don't have the capital to put down on the credit card to overpay the credit card bill, you don't have the capabilities to pay off that credit card. One of the things I said, do put a bunch of money on, or not put a bunch of money, put a bunch of revolving bills onto a higher level credit card, take the cash that would have went on those revolving bills, put it on a lower level credit card, let that credit card roll over, and then put a bunch of bills on that credit card so that you can take the money and put it on the other credit cards to pay those credit cards down. That's one way to do it. But if you're spending as much money as you're paying, you're not working it down. You would have to be paying more money than you spend while working down the excess money. Because usually people have maxed out credit cards because they had an unexpected financial charge that is not a normal financial charge that happened once in a lifetime. They didn't have enough money for it. They put all their money on it. Buying a house, financing a car, getting married. These are things that happens once in a while, if not once in a lifetime. And the $5, $10, $15, $20,000 that you needed to succeed with this particular transaction, you charge it all to the credit card because you didn't have any cash. Now you're going to pay that down over time. Hopefully before the divorce, hopefully before the foreclosure, hopefully before the repossession, you're going to pay that credit card down. But in the meantime, you got these high ass notes that you got to pay for. I'm telling you guys different ways to change the way you do what you do so that you can more effectively have a better, less stressful life. As I tell you guys on my way out of the show, that you guys got to find the things that are inside of your control that you don't like and put in the effort to change those things so that you have more capabilities and navigate around the things that are outside of your control. If you don't have the resources to navigate around the things that are outside of control, you got to deal with that shit. You can't blame the government for being poor when you're not willing to save a dollar. You can't say that the wealthy have a scam to keep you from being successful when every time you get an extra large refund from the government, you spend all of the money on bullshit instead of putting it somewhere where it benefits you next year. All the extra money that you got in 2026 from your tax return, which is way larger than the tax return that you got last year, all of that money should have went towards something other than catching up on back bills. And if you're catching up on back bills with your tax return money, you're spending too much money on bills. So you need to look at the bills, see which ones are valuable, do away with the ones that aren't, which reduces your bills, which allows you to have more money to spend, which you can then use that money to pay down your credit cards, where you can use that stuff to start investing with, and now you have stability. Now, all of this that I just talked to you about is going to be the fundamental difference between you finding a woman of value and finding a woman that'll use you for your money. Because if you are financially unstable, if you got a large quantity of debt, you're going into collections. You got foreclosures going on. You've got repossessions going on. You've got bankruptcy court calling you and stuff. She's not going to get with you. She might sleep with you. She might go to the club with you. She might ride in your car. She might drive your car without you in it. But she's not going to commit to you. You're losing everything. You're going to be a financial burden to her, which means that you're not an asset to her. You're a liability. So I have to talk about finances, because you got to get your finances together so that you can get a stable family. And I have to talk about your personal decisions so that you can have a stable family to help you get better finances. I got to talk to you guys about changing your decisions, where you stop chasing women for their bodies and start chasing women of value that will actually aid you in your ability to be more financially successful, not the women that are willing to put your food in the microwave and let you make yourself successful and then make you get up and go get your own food. She needs to be able to contribute to your success, not benefit from it without any contribution. If she's benefiting from it without any contribution, she's a leech. If it's equality, you put into this relationship what you get out of it, not just pay the half on the rent. If you're getting out of the house, you're not just paying half on the rent, you're contributing to my ability to make more money. You want trips around the world, you invest in the man so that the man makes enough money to pay for your trips around the world. You cannot expect a $100,000 a year man to give you all of his assets when you're not willing to take a $40,000 a year man and make him a $100,000 a year man. But let's think about this for a second. A night shift manager at a Waffle House can make $55,000 to $75,000 a year. A teacher can make between $45,000 and $55,000 a year. A teacher can get with a night shift cook, and y'all got a $100,000 a year income. So why are women looking down on men that work in fast food restaurants? Because they want lawyers that are making $65,000 a year, talking about they want a $100,000 a year man. The unrealisticness in social atmosphere where people are looking for what they don't need because their ego has a self-entitlement level that is beyond what they can obtain. And then they say, oh, I'm single by choice. You're not single by choice. All the people that want you, you don't have value in, and the people that you want have no value in you. So now you're going to get used by the people who don't want you, and you're going to devalue the people that want you. You're unhappy, but as a woman, your value is going to decline. As a man, if you're focusing on getting your money right, your value might incline. But as long as you're accepting low value women, it will stagnate your decline, because you're going to be spending a bunch of money on her entertainment to get her to stay. When we recognize that out of 41% of your income, she only benefits from 23, you're throwing away 18% of money for a woman that's not valuable, when you could have invested 23% into a woman that is valuable, where the other 18% would be able to be compounded in interest, where you can make more money off of the fact that your wife is here. Because again, I tell you guys on a regular basis, two people can make it to $1 million faster than one. If you are a $55,000 a year man and you're dating a $50,000 a year woman, that's $105,000 a year. If y'all are living a $60,000 a year lifestyle, you still got $45,000 a year to put into a brokerage account. Most of us don't have $45,000 a year to put in a brokerage account. You marry a good woman, you're putting away $40,000 a year, where y'all have over $400,000 a year plus interest, which is closer to $750,000 in 10 years, where you're getting back $75,000 to $100,000 a year back off of that brokerage account. just that brokerage account. Now that brokerage account is making more money than the two of you were making individually, which means that you have a valuable partner. But you get with a woman where y'all both make $55,000 a year. Now y'all live in a $120,000 a year lifestyle. You got to borrow $10,000 a year to cover the spread. You don't have a valuable partner. You have a liability. The difference, the K model, the difference between the first one where y'all are growing, because if y'all are now making $75,000 a year, y'all 20-year marriage, y'all be making $150,000 a year. You have a $60,000 a year lifestyle, which means you have enough money to put away 20, 30, 40,000 a year to improve your principal, travel with the rest. After you've paid taxes, your standard living in America can still be paid for, and you could be living in another country for a whole year, come back with your partner, and y'all be coming together talking about how to make that progress, how to make more money for you. You spend the first 10 or 20 years of your life grinding together so that y'all can make yourselves multimillionaires, so that you can spend the next 30 years of your retirement enjoying life. So why are women not finding a man with potential and making that man a millionaire so that that man can spend his millions on her? Instead, she's looking for a millionaire who could just spend his money on her. We're not trying to have sugar babies. You look down on the adult freelance women. You look down on the OnlyFans women. You look down on the Backpage women. You look down on a man going to get a higher value woman from the Philippines who's willing to do exactly that. Build you up so that you can help her pay for her family. She gonna build you up so that you not broke, you're not struggling. She's gonna put more money in your pocket so that she has more money to send back to her family. You can get a woman from Mexico that'll do the same shit. She'll build you up so that she can have more money to send back to her family. But the women in America, she's not going to build you up so that she can put more money in her own pocket, much less send money to her family. So when you tell me that I shouldn't talk about the finance complexities and the relationship complexities, you're basically saying that you're not willing to learn and improve and grow, because at the end of the day, in 2026, a lot of us who were teenagers in the 90s have already spent 26 years dealing with this bullshit and did not know until this podcast came out what to do to change it. And now every day we're talking about what to do to change it. And what to do to change it is not bitching about the government. It's not bitching about just, oh, women ain't shit. And it's not bitching about, oh, just men ain't shit. It's not just bitching about, oh, America ain't shit. It's talking about the fundamental logic, first person accountability. Part of the reason why, 70% of the reason why you're in a shitty situation is because you make shitty decisions. 30% of the reason why you're in a shitty situation is because you allow people that make shitty decisions to linger around you. That's the reason why you're in the situation that you're in. And there's a certain quantity of bad decisions that you will make or allow to be made in your presence before you find yourself in an area of no return where you can no longer get yourself out of that situation. And now you have to succumb to the consequences of compound bad decisions. That's when you start praying to the Lord to save you from this turmoil. You're going to go through them 12 trials of Hercules because you have fucked up 12 times. And now you have to dig yourself out of that. But if you had good friends, they would have steered you away from that. If you had a good partner, he or she would have steered you away from that. If you had valuable advice, sage advice from family members who did not want you to fail, and you listened to that, you would not be in them fucked up situations. You're in a fucked up situation right now because you let it get that way by either making bad choices yourself or allowing people around you to make bad choices. Where first person accountability, even the latter, is still your fault. Because if you knew that this wasn't going to end well, why did you stay? If you knew that this keg stand was going to lead to somebody getting hurt, why did you stay? If you knew that your homeboy was drunk and was about to get in the car and drive, why did you get in the car? If you knew that the girl wasn't 18, why did you sleep with her? If you know that this is not going to end well, why are you enjoying the self-gratification in the moment when you know that this decision could, if seen by society on the outside looking in, negatively impact your long-term goals? Because at the end of the day, if you could pick up a chick from the club, buy a couple of drinks, give her a few blunts, 2 mollies, you can take her back to the house. She's no longer coherent. Whatever she's willing to do under the law is not legal. And if she complains about it tomorrow when she sobers up, you will be in prison. And in Louisiana, they'll castrate you for that. Now, you could have had a coffee with her. Y'all could have went back to the house, did the same stuff, and she completely coherent. And everything y'all do is within the confines of the law, and you would have had a different outcome. And likely, she wouldn't be complaining about it. As men, we have a hell of a lot more to deal with. We have a hell of a lot more liability on us. We have a hell of a lot more consequences on us. And as a result, it is more dangerous for men to function in this society with the ignorance, believing that that will lead to bliss. Because you should know better is going to be told to a man before it's told to a woman. The woman will be the victim of the scenario. The man should have done better. So no, this podcast is going to talk about how, because this is a male-driven podcast from the male's perspective, and we're going to be talking about how men can and should do better, which will breed better men for the women. But that also means that the men that watch this show are going to have to set non-negotiable expectations for behavior so that we can attract or weed out, because we're looking for better quality women. So if we find ourselves with the lower grade women that we used to be qualified for, we need to be able to say, nope, I'm not going to get involved with that, and preserve ourselves for the higher quality women that we now deserve, because we have elevated ourselves socially, mentally, and financially to qualify for the higher value woman. But a man is not going to improve his status just to improve his status. He's going to improve his status so that he can get a better quality woman, so that he can have a better quality family, so that he can have a better quality legacy. Nothing is done for surface level. Everything has an underlying agenda for it. Right? And when you understand that, you're not going to say, oh, well, you know, what about love? What about it? Because love is a fundamental attraction to familiarity. And if your familiarity is toxicity, then you're going to love getting your ass whooped by your spouse. You're going to love being yelled at and having stuff thrown at you and being hit in the back of the head with a fucking pot, because that's what you're familiar with. You won't be in love with the peaceful, cooperative, obedient partner, because that's not what you're used to. But that's what the fuck you need. Now, when you find that person, you're more often than not going to be in love with that person. It's going to feel weird, but it's going to be stable. It's going to feel boring. You're going to have the itch to want to do something stupid to fuck it up because you want excitement in your life. But instead of ruining that relationship, you would have to talk to your partner and find ways to get thrills that does not damage your relationship so that you can maintain stability with that partner. Fellas, we're going to do the same shit. We're going to be looking for excitement. We usually go after the wild woman. Why? Because we live a boring, mundane, stable life. But the wild woman is not the one that we need. It's the one that we lust for. The wild woman will cause us to go bankrupt. The boring, nerdy girl who will invest in us and invest in our investments is the one that we need to keep our financial stability, to keep our legacy stable, to keep our resources growing. She's not fun. She's boring as fuck, but that's what we need. So when you talk about love and I talk about success, they don't always intertwine with one another the way you think. You can learn to love somebody, but you're not going to be capable of being successful with a financially irresponsible person, no matter how much you love them. And love is a one-way street. You loving them ain't got shit to do with them loving you. Look at all the men in the friend zone. Just because you love that person doesn't mean that that person loves you back. I had a Jamaican tell me a long time ago. He used to tell me, love who loves you, brother. Which ultimately means if you find somebody who's willing to put it all on the line for you, you need to go ahead and give that person everything they're giving to you. It is easier for you to learn to love someone back than what it is for you to convince somebody to love you out the gate. So instead of getting into this for the fictitious ideology of love, get into it for the benefit of, I can grow with this person. And this person wants to be here. not I'm bribing this person to be here by flashing my assets. It doesn't matter if a woman is doing it by showing off her body or a man doing it by showing off his money. If I'm flashing my assets to get this person to be here, then he's not here for me. He's here for my assets. If the person is here without knowing what my assets are like, then the person is here for me, regardless of my assets. I can grow with a person that's here for me. I can't grow with a person that's here for my assets. And that's going to work for both men and women. So I want y'all to take that into consideration. Now, as we wrap up the show, we're going to start by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. And I told you, I give you guys this information to make you guys higher value men, not only by improving your financial life, but also by improving your personal decision-making skills. Now, in addition to that, ladies, y'all have to figure out how to work on your 20-year plan, 20 and 30-year plan, reverse engineer that plan into what you're going to do today, and then proactively start putting forth effort towards that. Keep your eyes and ears open for the potential suitor with the right personality and characteristics, drive, ambition, dedication, motivation, admiration, integrity to fulfill his goals. See what his goals are like and see how well his goals meshes with your goals. Just like we had earlier tonight with the show, one person, the woman wanted to chase her career. The man wanted to move away and chase his career. Their goals were not intertwined. It led to a bad marriage. Not because there was something wrong with her, not because there was something wrong with him. Their goals did not align and somebody had to make the sacrifice. She made the sacrifice, and that sacrifice built relationship in the marriage. You guys have to be headed in a similar direction in order for it to work out. And like I told you guys not too long ago, is that two of y'all can make it to $1 million faster than one, but it only works if you both have similar long-term satisfaction goals and not be dealing with short-term gratification goals. If you guys have similar financial values, you guys can make it to where you're trying to go more effectively, right? And that's something that we don't pay attention to on a regular basis. Now, before we go, I want you guys to know on TikTok that tomorrow we're going to be here around 11:30, 11:45 Eastern Standard Time, and we're going to be carrying it over another couple of hours the way we always do. Today we did a good 4 hours. Jesus, it's a lot of time. We give you guys at least 2 hours every night, but we be here as long as it takes to get through the show. And feel free to come back tomorrow. I want you guys to make sure that you like the show on TikTok and hit that follow button, match the reaction buttons when you're here. That way you get you get the notification that we're going live the next time we go live. Take time to go over to the YouTube side of things. Like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Look in the archives of the YouTube because we have hundreds of shows because we go live every night of the week. So we have well over 365 videos a year going into this podcast that are archived, never deleted, with all the information that you need to make yourself successful. And then in the membership for less than a cup of coffee, all of the detailed information behind some of the concepts that we talk about on the show to aid you guys in having those step-by-step blueprints on how to make yourself successful is also located into the membership. And I encourage you guys to take a look at that as well. So I really appreciate Wisdom. Special shout out to FX Trader, OG Kicks, Steven, Michael, Raw Logic. It's been a while since he's been here. Joe Jack, Unk Andy, and Aztec. I really appreciate you guys, longstanding members of the membership and longstanding followers of the show. I really appreciate you guys for coming through on the YouTube side of things. I'm going to say thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'll see you guys on YouTube tomorrow night. And then for those
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate That's my personal command. I'm not mounted on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.